Good morning. We will call to order this special meeting of the Board of Trustees for Monday, July 1st, 2019. Madam Clerk, would you call the roll?
Yes, ma'am, Madam President. Trustee Calvert. Here. President Simon Holland.
Here.
Trustee Caudill.
Here.
Trustee Kelly.
Here.
Trustee Manetto.
Here.
Vice President Raymond. Here. Clerk Taylor is here. And Madam President, we have a quorum.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. Chief Trevino, would you lead us in the pledge, please?
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, Chief. Our next item is action to adopt the agenda. Is there a motion to adopt the agenda?
So moved.
Motion by Trustee Kelly, second by Trustee Caudill. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor, please signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries. Our next item, item 2.01, discussion and possible action to consider the character, alleged misconduct, and/or professional competence of Superintendent of Schools Tracy Davis pursuant to NRS 241.031. This portion of the meeting will remain open to the public, and administrative action to retain with discipline, accept resignation of, terminate without cause, or terminate with cause, or accept a proposal for resolution, if any, from the Superintendent of Schools Tracy Davis for discussion and possible action. I do want to just make a few comments to open that I expect that our proceedings will be respectful, that we will maintain decorum in the chambers, that we will be businesslike and not provoke any disruption. I also want to state that in Ms. Davis's contract, there is a process that says that any dispute about her employment status would be handled through the district court, and that there was not a provision for due process. And I do want to say that the district is providing due process that is additional to what she is entitled to. Also, as with other comment, we will allow Ms. Davis and or her representative to have time to speak uninterrupted, and that time allotted will be 20 minutes. This is not a back and forth, and the board will not be answering questions or getting into a debate or dialogue. This is their time to speak for 20 minutes, and then we'll move on to the rest of the proceedings. So I will go ahead and open that, and Ms. Davis or Mr. Peterson, you are welcome to begin when you're ready. Good morning.
Good morning, board, staff, parents, students, and community. I need my glasses. As always, even under these unfortunate circumstances, it is truly an honor and humbling to come before you as your superintendent. I stand here strong in my faith and resolve because I am confident that I've always done what I felt was right and best for our students and families in Washoe County. And even though some of us have not always agreed on that path, I've always felt proud to be part of this community because I know that our passions align when it came to our goals and creating a world-class education for our students. I want to thank so many from the community, family, and friends, not only locally, but nationally and statewide, that have reached out to me through this process and encouraged me to stay strong. And I want you to know that throughout my life as a leader, many people depend on you to stand for them strong. But you may never know how you have been a blessing to me in the past week. I am truly honored to be a part of the Washoe County staff. It was partnering with each of you that has allowed us to achieve historic graduation rates. It has been our well-rounded approach that has allowed us to close the historical achievement gaps. Through our collaboration, we've been able to work together to balance our budget with leaders across from this great state. And despite our disagreements, we have made sure to avoid layoffs like many other districts across this nation. From our custodians who I visit in schools who dedicate themselves 100% to their job because they understand the presence of the learning environment, make an impact on children, to the teachers that allowed me to be a guest teacher for a day, and support staff and administrators who always knew that they wanted to work with children, to the dedicated substitutes, one who I just met on the plane the other day, who steps in the gaps well because we understand that our children deserve the best education. I want to say that thank you for allowing me to be just one of those cogs in the 8,000 spokes wheel of this amazing staff that is continuously making an impact on the lives of our children. From our dedication and focus to our children with disabilities and our leadership from the country and social emotional learning, and our deliberate and intentional call to action around equitable practices for all, not just students, adults also. We are truly an embodiment of every child by name and face to graduation. I will relinquish a part of my time to my attorney to discuss the specifics, but I want to assure you that things that I have heard circulating over the last few days are incorrect. And sadly, they have been misrepresentations of the truth to the public. While I will not go one by one through them all, I can assure you that all I've done is to focus on preparing our children to have the best opportunity possible to take this world by storm. I'm not sure how any individual should respond when you know things being said about you and your character are untrue. But I know that my frustration is with the process and not one person, because I am confident that we've had more robust processes in place. We could not be here right now. As one of my former teachers taught me, the key to successfully reaching people in this world is that you have to start from the basic notion that everyone has good intentions at the core of every situation. It is with that in mind that I recommend to this board, moving forward, no matter who the superintendent is, a more transparent, forthcoming process be implemented around investigations that include checks and balances on all departments. And that was made as a request earlier during this investigation. There should be checks and balances on departments. There should be more transparent with employees to identify when their due process rights have been violated. Leadership team members and the superintendent should never be investigated by internal districts or their peers. That should be closed off, and we should look for other individuals not selected by district personnel to do the work. To our board member, Trustee President Holland, Vice President Raymond, Trustee Manetto, Trustee Kelly, Trustee Caudill, Trustee Dr. Taylor, and Trustee Calvert, while all of us here may not agree on every issue, which we don't, and we've had some strong conversations, I hold strong to the belief that we all agree what the end goal should look like, and that it should be dynamic educational experiences in Washoe County for every one of our students that we serve. I know I have not done anything that would give cause to remove me, so it is my hope that together we can make sure no one else has to experience these unfortunate circumstances in our district. Rather me, one of you, or any of our staff. I know we can make a difference because we are Washoe County. And to the parents and students, those here, those watching live stream, I want you to know that we, the school board and staff, may be going through a tough time, but no matter the outcome, know that we will always focus on the tomorrow for our children. I also want to say, as we do this work, and I do not know the outcome of this situation, we will be left with an opportunity for a gift that we've worked on to provide free emergency care for all children in Washoe. That work should continue because as we look at any of the alternatives that prevent our students from being successful, that is one of the things, and that was the thing that we started and will come to you, and I do not want that to fall by the wayside because that is important for our children. But finally, I want to clear the allegations brought before me are false. While it clearly means they're circumstantial, I am unaware of how any individual obtained confidential information. My lawyer will speak to that. And additionally, I did not participate in releasing or giving confidential information. There is still an opportunity for us to resolve this matter. This could be detrimental. When we talked on Monday, we talked about a successful way, and we talked about a plan. I implemented that plan the way I was directed to. However, things did not fold out that way. We have an opportunity to agree on a settlement agreement, and you have an opportunity to dig deeper into the information. There's lots of questions, but I noticed that there's not lots of information missing. I would urge you to have an independent party, look at this through and through, and look all the way to the beginning from the special ed allegations so you see a pattern, not just suggested material. Now I will relinquish the floor to my attorney.
Thank you, Ms. Davis. Mr. Peterson, welcome.
President Holland and members of the board, let me speak first about the process here. This is a surprise process even this morning. I myself am a general counsel of a public agency. I myself have been the general counsel for this board. Not a well-known fact, but it was many years ago. Normally, in an open meeting, you have the public comment first. Secondly, normally in a due process proceeding, the prosecution goes first, so that we can hear and listen to the evidence and the charges, and so we can respond to those. That process has been reversed here. I can only wonder why that process was reversed, but I'm sure that it was a tactical decision made by someone, that we would go first, and then we would hear the evidence, and then we would hear the charges. We do know what some of that evidence is. It's been put in a package, which I will speak to in a moment. Last night, I sent each of you a letter. And in that letter, what I asked was that the president here be recused from this proceeding, because in my view that she has evinced extreme hostility, bias, and prejudgment on this case, and therefore is not a fair and impartial decision maker and should not participate. Ms. Holland says that we're not entitled to due process under the contract, but we're going to get it. Well, this is not due process. And while the contract may say we're not entitled to due process, it doesn't exactly say that. It says we're not entitled to due process under Title 391 of the NRS. That doesn't mean that we're not entitled to due process. Ms. Davis is a citizen of this state. Ms. Davis is a citizen of the United States. You are the government. Ms. Davis has due process rights. Due process is intended to do one thing. Well, maybe more than one thing. But most importantly, what it's supposed to do here is lead to the truth. Due process is a process that is designed to enhance and end up in truth ascertainment, which this proceeding here is manifestly not. Most of you, or many of you, maybe all of you, have thought, after, based upon my motion to recuse Ms. Holland, that based upon the hostilities that have affected this proceeding, that this is just more attorney jousting. It's not. The point that I wanted to make with respect to that request for recusal is the most important point that I wanted to make to all of you today. And if you take nothing away from what I say today, nothing at all, it is this. And that is, you are all constituted here today in a unique role. You're not policymakers today. You're not rulemaking today. You're sitting as judges. You're sitting as judges of the facts of this particular matter. And in connection with performing that duty and responsibility, you have a solemn promise and have made a commitment to the people of this community that you'll do your very best to find and ascertain what the truth of this matter is. Your role in this particular case is hard, and it's also very simple. It's hard because no matter what judgment you end up here today, you're going to be criticized for it. There's going to be a lot of recriminations from some source, no matter what the decision is. And in that respect, the decision is hard because it requires some degree of dedication to the truth and courage in order to get to the right result. But the process is also easy. And the process is easy provided that you dedicate yourself to the narrow task that is at hand here, and that is to try to find what the actual truth is. And in connection with that effort, the most important thing for you to remember is to put aside all of these obstructions and all of these diversions between Mr. Lombardo and I. You have one narrow task here, and that is to try to find and ascertain the truth here. The responsibilities that you have assumed here are no different than the responsibilities that every day of the week are passed on to judges and juries and administrative law judges all throughout the United States. And that is to dedicate yourself to the task at hand and try to find and ascertain what the truth is. In that regard, as I said, you must dedicate yourself to that task. You must put aside all other diversions. I am an old lawyer now, as you can readily see. I was a young lawyer once. And in between that period of time, it has been my privilege to try cases in this state, throughout this state. And I won many of those cases, and I've also lost many of those cases. But I will tell you this, that in all of my experience with judges and juries and administrative lawmakers, I don't think that I ever came across one in a solemn proceeding to find the truth that they didn't dedicate themselves honestly to that task to do the very best that they could to find that truth. No one outside our small community here is going to care much about what's going on here. But the people in this community do care, and they're watching. They're watching us all. My friends and colleagues are watching me. Your pupils, your teachers, your administrators, and their families, they're watching you. And make no mistake about it, they're not watching me, and they don't care about the petty disputes between me and Mr. Rombardo. What they're watching is you. And what they want to know is two things. Did she do it? Was it fair? Let's go to did she do it? I have read every single page of the charges. I thought there were 215. I recounted them. There's over 300. 300 pages. I've read them twice. I've had another lawyer read them. You might as well have put in the phone book. There's nothing in there that I can see that connects Mrs. Davis to these charges. Ms. Taylor, in your meeting with Tracy Davis up at Incline High School, that 30-minute, actually 37, 40-minute meeting that you and Ms. Holland had with Ms. Davis, you told her there's not a single email, there's not a single text message to, or more importantly, from Ms. Davis indicating that she confided in, or more importantly, passed on any confidential whatsoever to David Lasik, or Byron Green, or Jenny Ritchie, or anyone else. And you both indicated, you and Ms. Holland both indicated that that was a matter of concern to you. Now, I have confirmed that. I have looked at every single page. There's not a single text message, there's not a single email from Tracy Davis to any of these people, nor is there one back. You, Ms. Taylor, indicated to Ms. Davis during that meeting, well, if there was something of this nature, we would expect to see a trail, a chain of emails, and there is none. And didn't Ms. Holland say during that meeting, electronic communications all have a signature. You can find out. And didn't Ms. Davis say, I will give you my cell phone. You can look at all of my communication devices. You can determine whether or not I did that. Didn't she do that? Nobody bothered to take her up on that. I am sure that this district has examined, while Ms. Davis was out, every single email that's sent out of this district to anyone. And I'm sure that there's not a single email, there's not a single piece of information that connects her to any of this, or else we would see it. You all said you have to look at the two of you said you have to look at this in the broader context. You have to read this material and you'll see where you're implicated. And the two of you, and I've done that and I don't see it. The two of you brought up two specific allegations. The first is the preliminary report from Solutions at Work that came out at the end of March of 2017, 2 years ago. Here are some simple, straightforward facts on that. A lawyer who maintains good relations with the bar here in this community can call another lawyer and say, what about this? I have done that. Mr. Lasik and Mr. Green are both represented by counsel. One's John Moore and the other's Frank Flaherty. You can call them up, which is what I did. Is there any truth to this allegation that your clients got a preliminary report from Tracy Davis? The answer is no. Mr. Rombardo could have made that call. Another lawyer could have made that call. That's what happens in this community among lawyers. We're not all that adversarial. We can call and find out and ask questions. Here's something more important. You could have asked them. You could have asked David Lasik. You could have asked Byron Green. You could have asked Jenny Ritchie about all of this when they were employed. Your people didn't do any of that. They didn't ask anybody one of those questions. They could have assembled them in a little office and say, look at all of the evidence we have against you. Look at the connections here. What is your explanation for that? None of that happened. The first thing that you guys did was on May 29th, you got these 300 pages, presumably at that time, and then you gin up these charges against Ms. Davis at that time, instead of doing an investigation. No investigation was done. Why is this the only instance that there was no investigation done? There was an investigation of all kinds of things in this district. I'm involved in some of them myself. No investigation of these proceedings at all. Just charges. You could still ask them those questions, and they will tell you it didn't happen. Here's a simple fact. That preliminary report was not released. They will tell you that. Their lawyers will tell you that. Most interesting of all, some of you may or may not have been involved in this, but in March of 2018, whether known or unbeknownst to all of you, there was a settlement agreement that was entered into between this district without an open meeting, and I'm not sure one was required. I'm not accusing you of that today. But there was a meeting. We know this because Ms. Holland says there was in February 2017, and we knew about those leaks in 2017 and in 2018. And you enter into a settlement agreement with Byron Green. One of the things that you settle with Byron Green is, we know that you got a copy of this preliminary report, and we will not look into it. This is March of 2018. That this board enters into a settlement agreement saying, we know about this leak, we know about these other leaks, and we're not going to look into it. So this board knows back then that there's a leak. It does not bother to ask him at that time, oh, we're going to settle up with you. You don't ask him, by the way, where did you get this report? Where are you getting these leaks? You just settle up with him, but you don't even ask that one question back in March of 2018? Why didn't you ask him at that time? We're going to settle up with you, but we want to know where you got this report. We want to know where you got this information. None of those questions were asked at that time in 2018. Why not? Why weren't those questions asked? The second thing that you, Ms. Taylor and Ms. Holland, said to Ms. Tracy Davis at that meeting was that there's some texting that can be traced to Tracy Davis because she's in a meeting, and at that same time, David Lasik is texting himself somewhere else. Well, how can Ms. Davis text and provide information simultaneously with David Lasik texting somebody else? I know what multitasking is all about. People can drive and text, but can they talk and text at the same time? What evidence is there that Tracy Davis was the source of this information? Ms. Holland asked during this meeting up at Incline Village, who else has access to Tracy's texts? I don't know. That's what you said. I don't know. Well, you should know. If you're going to accuse her of these kinds of things, you should have looked into that. You should have had your attorney look into that. You should have done an investigation instead of just bringing these charges. Here's the thing. I'm down to 15 seconds. Is that right, Mr. Lombardo? I got 15 seconds left? 10 seconds? Who's running the district here? General Counsel, or you all? Why don't you have an investigation now? Ms. Davis is entitled to an investigation. Ms. Holland told the paper yesterday, we're going to do the investigation after. We're going to find the truth after? Find the truth first. You can still do it.
Thank you, Mr. Peterson. Counsel, do you have any comments that you want to share?
With regard to evidence, the required evidence is such relevant evidence as a reasonable mind might accept as adequate to support a conclusion. And what you have to look for is either deliberate or negligent per the contract acts. So it doesn't have to be intentional. It can just be negligent.
And did you want to say anything about the recusal?
Yeah, with regard to recusal, NRS 281A governs, and this is an open meeting. This is not a due process hearing. This is an open meeting by Nevada law, and there is absolutely no reason for you to recuse yourself.
Okay, thank you. I think we will go ahead and have some public comment and hear from folks first before we move on. I do want to just make sure that everyone has seen there is a fact sheet that has been provided out in the lobby there that goes through the evidence and the chain of corroborating evidence that occurred showing the coincidental sharing of information. And again, the standard is not that we have to prove that there is direct evidence that Ms. Davis handed a report to someone. The information that's provided in the fact sheet shows that on March 30th, the preliminary report was provided, and on April 2nd, one of the subjects admits that he is receiving information and is passing that. We have proof that that information from the report is being passed on. And again, we are not alleging that Ms. Davis necessarily provided that information, but that it was pointed out to her that it was very important that information not be provided to that particular subject because of his relationship to someone in the report, and but that still occurred within 3 days of the report being established. There is a requirement that confidential reports be secured, and that is one of the initiating causes of our discussion today. So let's.
Actually, may I be?
Yes.
Quickly on due process. Under the contract, and this was a contract that was agreed to by all parties, page 9, paragraph 11, subsection A, provided, however, that unlike other Washoe County School District employees, the superintendent shall not, emphasized in the contract, at any time have any right to a due process hearing before the board or any third persons prior to such involuntary termination for a cause or without cause, or any other procedural due process rights contained in NRS Chapter 391. So it is just simply wrong to say that there's some due process rights. Those were negotiated away. This actually exceeds anything that's required, but just to point out, the law in this country is that due process is notice and the right to be heard. And this has been, there's been notice and there's been a right to be heard. And by Nevada law, you are the decision makers. And you are the employers considering an employee issue. And you are the only employers of this particular employee, no one else.
And I also want to add, just for clarification, that the district had no evidence of any leaks of confidential information prior to May 29th of this year. There were suspicions, but there was no proof, and we cannot act on suspicion without proof. There was no opportunity to review because there was no evidence. So just a suspicion, but no conclusive evidence. So let's go ahead and have public comment. JJ, you can begin to call the public comment. And again, I would like to encourage everyone, let's be as respectful as possible so that we can have everyone have an opportunity to be heard. We won't have any clapping. We won't have any booing. Please just let's have a business-like, decorous proceeding. JJ?
Selena Hatch, then Kaylin Evans, then Natha Anderson.
Ms. Hatch, you may come forward, and everyone will have 3 minutes to speak. Welcome.
Thank you. As I begin my comments today, I must confess that I was afraid to speak, not because I was intimidated by the large crowd or the numerous cameras or even the seriousness of the matters at hand today. No, I was afraid because I have learned firsthand that people who speak up in this district are punished. There is intimidation, harassment, bullying, and unprofessional conduct which have become norms in our school district. And this climate has been created from the top down. It should be no surprise whatsoever that our staff is completely demoralized by this climate of fear and hostility. This climate was created by the harsh leadership of Superintendent Davis, and until today, it seemed like it would continue unabated. This is why I urge the board to defend our students and staff members against the appalling actions of our leader and dismiss Tracy Davis with cause. However, though this will be a powerful first step, it will not be enough to heal the tremendous breach of trust between district leadership, staff members, and the community at large. It is time to clean house in Washoe County School District, and I propose 2 first steps in that process. We must hire an independent agency to investigate the numerous claims of harassment and bullying across the district. Leaders in this district must be held accountable for their actions, and staff members need to feel safe in our schools again. And 2, we must stop this arbitrary and toxic obsession with graduation rates. This is a meaningless metric which only shows more teachers have been successfully bullied into passing more students, not that these students are actually learning. To achieve the 90 by 20 mandated by Davis, teachers have been forced to artificially inflate grades, alter attendance records, and pass students who clearly have not met the standards. We are graduating students today who are functionally illiterate and patting ourselves on the back for setting them up for success. This is a shell game, which we are playing with our students' futures. And just as we are harming our kids, we are harming our teachers. What this district is doing to our teachers is moral injury. You are forcing some of the most caring and thoughtful people in our district to violate our core beliefs every day. You are forcing us to commit unethical and sometimes even illegal acts in the name of boosting graduation rates. We know these actions are wrong, but we have been taught that to speak up is to be punished. Obedience is all that is required, and teachers are expected to abdicate their morals, ethics, and duty of care upon hire. Your founding documents as a board state over and over again that your chief concern is the learning of students. I implore you to honor your pledge and find a metric which actually shows students are learning and allow us to feel some pride in our work again. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Hatch.
Kaylin Evans, Natha Anderson,
Mr.
John
Evans.
Eppolito.
Welcome.
Hi. My name is Kaylin Evans, for the record. What do we tell our kids about bullying? Even if you're not the one directly perpetrating the act, you are just as guilty if you sit back and do nothing. And that's exactly what this committee and the district leadership has done. Nothing. You've all sat back and watched Ms. Davis and this leadership run the morale of the district into the ground and have patted her on the back every step of the way. The fear, intimidation, and lying that the district uses to rule over its employees has created such a toxic working environment that we are losing amazing educators who are leaving the profession they love, in part because of who they work for. How do you measure the success of district leadership? Because up until now, you've all been giving Ms. Davis and her team a passing grade. Based on what? The slight increase in graduation rates, even though you all know how districts and site administrators can manipulate numbers and policies in order to create the appearance of increased rates. You know what metric is a really strong indicator of leadership's effectiveness? Employee morale. Based on our own climate survey from 2018, only 13% of employees would highly recommend Washoe County School District as an exceptional district that fully meets the educational needs of its students. That's a passing grade to all of you. It was a drop from 30%. The same question was asked a year ago. Only 17% of certified staff felt satisfied with the district as a place to work. Think about how horrible of a number that is. 83% of educators don't feel valued, don't feel listened to, and don't feel empowered. Teaching is hard enough, and you pile on all of the dysfunction, the lying, intimidation, and hypocrisy from this district. No wonder people are fleeing the profession. And know what's crazy about that? This year's climate survey was even worse than 2018. So 83% of teachers didn't feel like they had a voice in 2018, and it's even worse this year. But the worst part about this whole thing is this is more money, more time, more energy not spent on the one thing that got us all into teaching. Our kids. That's the saddest part of this whole thing. We're not talking about kids. We're talking about a bunch of adults who aren't doing their jobs. They're the ones caught in the middle of this, and so are the educators who have dedicated their lives to serving those kids.
Thank you, Mr. Evans.
Natha Anderson, John Eppolito, Roger Edwards.
Welcome, Ms. Anderson.
Thank you. Good morning. My name is Natha Anderson. It's my honor and pleasure to be a second-generation educator. Actually, I'm a fourth-generation educator. I'm a second-generation Washoe County School District educator. Both my parents were teachers. But today, instead, I'm actually representing the 4,000 bargaining members of the Washoe Education Association. We need to keep this as far away from our classrooms, our work sites, and our educators and our students as possible. Unfortunately, that is not happening. The way this has been handled on all sides has broken our trust. It has broken our commitment. And most importantly, I want to be proud of where I teach. I'm proud of my students. I'm proud of being a North Valley's High School Panther, even though I'm not on staff right now. But I can't say that right now I'm proud of being a Washoe County School District teacher. And that saddens me. On a personal level, it saddens me based upon my history. On a personal level, this is my community. This is where I live on purpose. This is where I teach. This is what I care about. We need to fix this, and we need to do so in a professional fashion. We need to do so in a way that will show that education and educators are the root of this, are at the center of it, not personal feelings and not legal jargon. I understand that this process is a difficult one and not an easy one to undergo, but we need to do so in a way that is professional, respectful, and put students and schools at the center. And right now, they're not. We have 3 schools that are currently in session. The educators that are working, the principals, the teachers, the teacher librarians, the counselors, they are doing everything they can to keep this as far away from our students as possible. And knowing many of these educators, they're doing an excellent job. But we have to do that every day. And as we prepare for the upcoming school year, because in 4 weeks, we will be back in school. This cannot be over our head. I ask that you handle this professionally, ethically, and quickly. Communication makes a difference. And the way that communication has been happening the last few years, not just under the current superintendent, but the formers as well, has been condescending and not helpful to educators to feel empowered or presented as professionals. Please remember, we matter, and to treat us as the professionals that we are. Thank you. I wish you luck in this decision. I know it's a difficult one, but we have to remember all of the different things happening right now. Bringing out all the legislative items, negotiations, and hiring new teachers. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Anderson.
John Eppolito, Roger Edwards, Dennis Kane.
My name is John Eppolito. I'm a former K-12 teacher. I have 2 kids still in the district, and I'm the president of Protect Nevada Children. And you can find us on Facebook at Protect Nevada Children. There has been a lot of talk about what Google and Facebook learn about us adults as we use their free products. The information these companies know about adults pales in comparison to what free EdTech vendors know about our children. Without parental consent, EdTech vendors collect, store, and share data and create secret profiles on our children. We parents never see the information or profiles some of these vendors save forever on our kids. Experts on the left and right have written about how these secret profiles will affect the future of our children, at minimum for college admissions, military recruiting, and job placement. For years, Edmodo has been one of the most widely used free EdTech products in Washoe County schools. About 2.5 years ago, Edmodo had a huge data breach where the personal information of students was placed for sale on the dark web. About 1.5 years ago, the Chinese bought Edmodo. Experts believe it was for the secret profiles of the U.S. school children. Immediately after both of these incidents, Protect Nevada Children begged Tracy Davis and this board to tell parents what happened and let them decide if they wanted their children logging in and sharing data with free EdTech vendors or not. You all still refuse. About 10 months ago, the FBI issued a public service announcement warning parents about the dangers of using EdTech products. Washoe County School District, led by Tracy Davis, has jeopardized the future of all students in the state of Nevada. Here's how. During the legislative session, one of Protect Nevada Children's bills was SB 403. This bill would have required Nevada school districts to educate parents on the dangers of children sharing personal data and schoolwork with free EdTech vendors like Edmodo, and would have allowed parents to opt their children out. Almost everyone in the state supported our bill, including Clark County and the State Teachers Union. The only opposition to SB 403 came from Washoe County School District. Tracy was able to gut our bill so that the district, not parents, would decide when secret profiles would start being created on our children. For years, Protect Nevada Children has been begging Tracy and this board to educate parents and allow them, not the district, to decide when their children start sharing personal data and schoolwork with these free EdTech vendors. You can find us on Facebook at Protect Nevada Children, where the comments I just made will be the pinned post. JJ, please add these for the record.
Thank you, Mr. Ippolito.
Roger Edwards, Dennis Kane, Darla Lee.
Welcome, Mr. Edwards.
Well, good morning, everybody. Roger Edwards, 50-year resident of Washoe County, 37-year retired military. I'm very active now on the political side of the game, getting you folks elected, and I hope I don't need to remind you that your job is to select the right people to take care of the education of our children. That's priority one, and I was encouraged to hear the chief counsel explain the details of Superintendent Davis's contract. But, you know, and like several of the teachers here have talked about, you have to keep the focus where the focus belongs. And the focus has to be on a superintendent that can make a team that can get our children taught. You can't do that without a team. You know, from my military experience, we never accomplished anything unless everybody worked together. From the first day Superintendent Davis was in charge, was conflict and disarray and one problem after another. When Superintendent Davis gets a report card from her teachers and other educators and administrators that only gives her a 15 or 20% approval rating, that should be enough for you guys to fire her or anybody else. It's not her. It's the person that sits in that seat. That's your job. Your job is to not to teach the children. You're elected officials. We in the citizenry elect you to manage that chair. You just got to hire somebody that's a team maker. And probably a good place to start is to drop this $400,000 a year salary down to a reasonable salary, where it's not just somebody coming in here that can qualify for the big bucks, but is a real team maker. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Edwards.
Dennis Kane, Darla Lee, Leslie Herman.
Welcome, Mr. Kane.
Thank you. I believe when there's a problem, we start back with the basics. A year ago, you guys had a chance to give Ms. Davis a review, and you lacked on that. No review. You brought in an independent company to give her a review because nobody would draw a line in the sand to do that. The review came back less than, subpar, and I believe behind closed doors, Ms. Davis decided if that gets changed, or I'm going to sue because you guys did not do due process on giving her a rightful review. And you guys changed that review to a passing grade to keep her job. To me, you're all guilty. We wouldn't be here today in this circus, in this mess, if you would have done your job 1 year ago. Her coming in with intimidation, putting people in place that are not qualified for the jobs, creating positions for friends of hers, and spending a pocket full of money for all her friends. And you guys sit back and do nothing, knowing that Byron Green is not qualified for a sped job. Taking care of special education people. The most important is our kids. And you guys sit back and you do nothing. Most of you. Some of you are new hires that weren't here last year. But you knew that things were gone wrong. And that's why you're there, to change things. But I think the house should be cleaned. You guys sat back and did nothing but come in and collect a paycheck. Sit there with Miss Davis and with the graduation rate. You guys are more intent on graduating than educating. These kids leave high school. They have no idea what goes on. Come to school, show up, and you'll get a diploma. That's a hard way to live life from then on, is everybody gets a trophy. It doesn't work that way. The more you learn, the more you earn. And these kids are not getting educated. And I think it all starts with you guys at the top. So I think you need to look at it and make the right decision. Intimidation, bullying, whatever it is not going to fix this. Doing the right thing for the kids, for the teachers. The state throws more money at education than any place else, but it never filters down to the teachers or the students, the classroom. It stays in your guys' pocket, creating positions for friends, family, whatever it is. And I think that's wrong. So you need to take a hard look at yourself and figure this out, because this has just become a circus that could have been squashed a year ago or sooner. That's it.
Thank you, Mr. Kane.
Darla Lee, Leslie Herman, Keith Marcher.
Good morning, Ms. Lee.
Good morning. I have watched with growing concern the direction taken by the Washoe County School District under the leadership of Tracy Davis. And one of the main concerns is the education of our children. Why is it that .com executives like Bill Gates and Steve Jobs seriously limited their own children's access to cell phones and iPads? And why are so many Silicon Valley high-tech parents seeking out schools like the private schools throughout the nation, the Waldorf schools, for example, where no electronic devices are allowed through the 8th grade? Students attending the pricey Waldorf schools are even discouraged from using social media platforms at home until the upper grades. And a recent CNBC reported about this on June 8th, 2019. This article was called "Inside the Tech-Free School Where High-Tech Parents Are Sending Their Kids." So what do they know that apparently the Washoe County District does not? With this in mind, why is the Nick Polakis, I'm going to murder that, the elementary school opening in South Reno is touted as a one-to-one school, which means all the students will have a personal device starting in kindergarten. It appears that Washoe County School District is pushing more computer time for students, just as more studies indicate that less is better for learning, particularly for our younger students. To this point, there's a lengthy article from Reboot Foundation called "Does Educational Technology Help Students Learn?" One of the achievement data sets analyzed was the 2017 the National Assessment of Educational Progress, which is the U.S. National Report Card. And one of their findings was that data from the 4th grade students who reported using tablets in, quote, all or almost all classes scored 14 points lower on the reading exam than students who reported never using classroom tablets. And this is one grade level for our reading students. A few other quotes from that article is we find that the relationship between performance is rarely linear, and students worldwide appear to perform best on tests when they report a low to moderate use of school computers. I would really encourage the board to look at these articles, and more information can be seen on the Facebook page of Protect Nevada Children. We really need to have less screen time, especially for our younger students. Thank you. Did you put this in for the record? Thank you.
Leslie Herman, Keith Marcher, Ambassador Victor Wowo.
Welcome, Ms. Herman.
Good morning. I stand before you as a parent of 3 wonderful girls who graduated from the Washoe County schools and got an amazing public education, and also as a 36-year veteran of the Washoe County School District, starting in 1983 as a teacher at Incline Middle School, opening up Billinghurst Middle School in 1990, 5 years at Galena High School, 12 years as curriculum assistant principal at McQueen High School, and my last 4 years serving as the K-12 principal of the Incline schools, as well as 2 years at the high school. My legacy that I left was a U.S. News and World Report gold medal. It was the only one in the Washoe County School District in 2017, and the only comprehensive high school in the state of Nevada that received a gold medal from the U.S. News and World Report. Since I left the school district, I took a position with the Dave and Cheryl Duffield Foundation in Incline Village, and my job has been exclusively to support the public schools with private funds. Just to let you know where the money has gone, the first $1 million was put up to support the beginning of a Boys and Girls Club at Incline Elementary School. Mr. Duffield and his wife also just recently gave $585,000 to Incline High School to renovate the theater. Furthermore, Incline High School was accepted into the pilot program for competency-based learning at the state, which was an unfunded mandate, a 5-year exploration of looking at what competency-based learning will be. So I was the person in the background getting money to help the high school make this happen, $655,000. So there's a total of $1,280,000 that has fallen into the hands of people affiliated with the Washoe County School District in the last year and a half because of the work that I've done. I want to continue to do this kind of work because there are lots of opportunities for private partnerships and funding that will help our school district. But I want to let you know that it's been a really tough sell. For me to sit with people who are enormously successful in the private industry and convince them that they should put their money into our public school system is something that is getting more and more difficult because there is a huge lack of trust. I implore the school board to quit the practice of hiring by default. It's the Forrest Gump syndrome, that you land in a job because you happen to be there. Please consider doing a search and getting somebody in who will lead the district forward. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Herman.
Keith Marcher, Ambassador Victor Wowo, Norris Dupree.
Welcome, Mr. Marcher.
Thank you. Good morning. My name is Keith Marcher. I'm a retired Chief Deputy Attorney General from the Nevada Attorney General's office. I worked there 26 years, and that's where I first met your General Counsel, Mr. Rombardo. I wanted to say a few words about him, if you'd allow me. When I met Neil, he was a senior deputy assigned to the Nevada open meeting law, and I know you folks have had some issues with that law. I was a supervised the open meeting law deputy during all that tumultuous time, and Neil was a DA in Carson City at the time, but I didn't directly supervise him, but I was assigned to review his work related to the open meeting law before it went up to the Attorney General for final approval. And I just want to say Neil he's an excellent attorney, and when he got this job, I was very happy for him and for you. Because of your open meeting law issues in the past, I know he could fix those for you, and I think he has done that, and I think you hired the right guy. But Neil's also a terrific person. In my opinion, I've known him 15 years. We've been best friends for a long time. His integrity and his character and his reputation, to me, are unassailable. You just can't attack him on those things because you don't have anything to attack him with. He's trying to do the right thing here today. He's got a tough job, probably a tougher client. I've represented just about every state licensing board in the state at one time or another. I know tough clients and easy clients, and you guys are hard, so he has a hard job. But if you heed his advice, you should be able to do the right thing today too. And that's all I really had to say. I just wanted to come in and say a few words on Neil's behalf. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Marcher.
Ambassador Victor Wowo, Morris Dupree, Norris Dupree.
Welcome, Ambassador. You have 3 minutes.
Good morning, everybody.
Good morning.
I was here 2 years ago, same issue. They want to try to get rid of Tracy Davis. I say that's not possible because I've been in this city for almost 38 years. I raised 4 kids in this community, and I know how this community works. See, just because she's her color, you guys want to get rid of her, it doesn't work that way. Please follow due process. I've traveled worldwide. I haven't seen the kind of thing I'm seeing here right now. Some of you have already made up your mind. Please, look at yourself. Is it the right way to fire somebody? Get to the facts. If she's wrong, fire her. But if she's not, don't do that. Because if you do that, I think God Almighty will judge you all. And that's all I just have to say. Thank you.
Thank you, Ambassador.
Morris Dupree, Norris Dupree, Albert Lee.
Welcome, Mr. Dupree.
Thank you. My name is Dr. Norris Dupree, and I've been here in this state for my whole life. I attended school here at Glenn Duncan Elementary School, Trainer Middle School, and I graduated from Hug High School. I received my doctorate degree from the University of Nevada, Reno. I want to talk to you just a little bit about collaborating. I've been working here with the school district for many years. As a psychologist, I've worked with at-risk kids. I've had my own foster home. And one of the things that has always been concerning to me is that the special education department have had issues for years. I've sat in this room with parents, and I've seen a lot of things that has gone down and that has taken place. This is before Tracy Davis even got into office. I want to tell you that our teachers have a lot of heart. I've seen them go to school. I've seen a lot of teachers being attacked by students. I've seen a lot of them stand up. I've seen a lot of them put their own resources, time, energy, and effort into educating our teachers. I don't have anything to say about bullying. I believe bullying is wrong. And I would never, ever suggest from anybody, whether it's children or an adults, that individuals be bullied. But this is one thing that I can say personally. Number one, if it's about our children, it should be simple. As whether you're a Republican, whether you're a Democrat, whether you're black, whether you're white, we should be working together to make sure that our children have the best education if this is about our children. Our children should be number one. No matter what school they're from, they should have an opportunity. The second thing is, I am concerned with the way that our process is going, and also with the way that we have treated minorities in leadership here. Before Tracy even got into office, there was conflict with the previous superintendent, which is Pedro. From Pedro, it just seems like it was ongoing and it was just reoccurring. People ran for office to overthrow Tracy. This does not talk about collaboration. This does not talk about community. This does not talk about working together to really foster and to boost our children. There are hidden agendas that we have here. My thing and my concern is we need to be concerned about our children, and we need to be concerned about our teachers, and we need to be concerned about our truth. I applaud you. I recommend that there be a independent investigation on all charges and also concerning what the teachers have said.
Thank you, Dr. Dupree.
Norris Dupree, Albert Lee, Nathan Dupree.
Welcome, Mr. Dupree.
Good morning. I am Norris Dupree Sr., and this is my son that was educated in your educational system. Also, my wife also taught in your educational system. All of my kids were product of your educational system, and I would say to them that was a job well done from my standpoint of view. But I stand here today because I sat and I listened at many people arguing about Tracy Davis, and some of them brought up the numbers that of the graduation rate. Now, if her numbers was worse than the predecessors, you all would say something about that. But because this is greater, you have a problem with that too. Somehow or another, dealing with this board and minority leaders, somehow or another you all have a problem in dealing with minority leaders. And I heard some of the people made statement about what the teachers rated our superintendent. Then there must be a room full of complaints from the teachers about her at 17%. Where are the complaints? Who holds them? Who can see them? Who can investigate them? Do we know basically really what their intents are? Even this board here that we are addressing this morning, do we really know what the intents are? Are we here really to find out and to get our children a great education? Or we just want to get rid of another minority leader? For what I'm seeing, I see what I was raised in the South, and what I see here this morning basically is a lynching of this lady and her great work that she have done and have given to us and our children in this community. And I somehow or another, I'm here to fight another lynching. You did it with her predecessor just before her, and end up in court and you lost. And so we're going to do her the same way. Now, in terms of speaking, I know that in every workplace that everybody don't agree with everything that a leader do. You always have those that are disgruntled and always have complaints about the leader and their work. And if you're a leader, if you have a job, I'll guarantee you, if you search your employee, you got some people that are negative about you. And so should we get rid of you and your company or your leadership ability because you have a few people basically that is disgruntled? I'm here to let you know that I believe that she's doing a great job, and I would retain her because of the job that she's doing.
Thank you, Mr. Dupree.
Albert Lee, Nathan Dupree, Shannon Cologne.
Welcome, Mr. Lee.
Good morning. I am a 7-year resident of Washoe County. I moved here in 2012 and I have enjoyed my time here. Since I came here, I studied the history of this district and I noticed that the dysfunction of this district has been front and center for decades. It is interesting, shall we say, that the previous superintendent and now this superintendent find themselves in positions to be removed from their job when the one before the current and the previous, was allowed to use the district to build his reputation to move on to a much larger district in Charlotte, North Carolina, and was summarily fired. It is interesting to me that we sit here during a time when graduation rates and test scores have been the metric by which leaders have been, school districts have been adjudicated, and all of a sudden now we want to change those metrics when the person currently occupying the position has seen success with those metrics. I think there is some soul searching that we have to engage in when we will fall over ourselves to suspend due process and to look for loopholes in contracts to try to do without due process. I think it is unconscionable that the president of the school board, along with another member of the school board, would show up to a meeting that was a bait and switch. One must ask themselves why they would participate in such activity as leaders in this community and not operate in a way that is upfront. I do not know Tracy Davis from a can of paint. I am a taxpayer, I am a homeowner, and I'm a proud member of this community. What is being done here is disgusting. And it's not because it's Tracy Davis. It's because one has to ask themselves why all of a sudden we feel the need to change the rules now. Why all of a sudden now we seem to want to change the metrics by which we measure success. I want to say this before I take my seat. You know, the allegations of intimidation and bullying and fear have been lodged, and it is not intimidation and bullying to expect that people do their job. And if there have to be consequences for someone not doing their job, that should be front and center. So we have to ask ourselves the question, why all of a sudden is it considered bullying and fear tactics now when the district, the members of the community, are being held accountable? One has to wonder.
Thank you, Mr. Lee.
Nathan Dupree, Shannon Colon, Lonnie Feemster.
Welcome, Mr. Dupree.
Madam President, to the Washoe County School District Trustees. My name is Nathan Dupree. I'm a community member and I'm very involved in many different capacities here in this community. I work with the schools in various ways with teachers and principals and kids to promote social and academic success with our kids. I'm also the president of ACON, which is the African American Clergy Council of Northern Nevada, which represents this community in different capacities. You can hear it in my voice. I'm sad. I'm sad today for where we're at and what's taking place today. I've scrapped my letter that I wrote. Because it doesn't make a difference. What I felt in this room, what I felt from people and what I've heard today in this room is not collaboration, it's not working together. It's not putting and making a priority the things that need to be a priority. And I'm sad, my soul is hurt. I'm hurt from what I heard from the teachers and what I've heard from educators, what I've heard from community members, and my soul hurts. As a community, I'm sad. I'm sad. It's another sad day in Washoe County from what has just been transpiring over many years. I've heard stories of practice and tactics, people just divided. And a divided house and people would never stand. Never. My prayer, because it's going to take prayer. My prayer is that our hearts are right and that we proceed in a way that will bring about truth and equity and justice and collaboration and our kids at the forefront of what, who needs to be at the forefront. One thing we had in the letter from ACON is that we would ask that there would be an independent investigation that would happen for these proceedings. But I just wanted to communicate clearly today that it's just another sad day in Washoe County.
Thank you, Mr. Dupree.
Shannon Colon, Lonnie Feemster, Joseph Silveria.
Ms. Cologne, are you coming?
No.
Oh, okay.
I passed for now.
Okay, all right, thank you. Mr.
Lonnie Feemster, Joseph Silveria, Elise Weatherly.
Welcome, Mr. Feemster.
Welcome. Thank you. Hello, I'm Lonnie Feemster, president of the Reno Sparks NAACP, former education chair for the Reno Sparks NAACP. Thank you, board members, as I sit here and watch you sitting here collecting the big bucks, all of which you're making $600-700 a month. And you get to take the blame for anything that has happened to anybody that's ever done on the school board. I reviewed carefully the Washoe County School District documents, Attorney William Peterson's 65-page response. Some people think it was 12 pages. And I understand the pressure there is for you to go through all this material and take the heat for what's going on now and what's been done in the past. My past experience with the Washoe County School District, superintendents, and serving on many committees for this school district, and having talked with teachers, students, and parents, people in the community, leaders, and other individuals, I get the feeling that they feel there's great harm being done to our school system, that there's great costs being spent, and there are too many future costs. The purpose of me coming here today was to urge you, because you have the ability, you have the authority to vote to end this mess that we find ourselves in today. You can direct counsel to work out a fair solution to stop the harm to children, staff, and our community, to end the feeling of betrayal by so many people over these issues. You have the authority, and it is the right thing to do morally and professionally. I hope that God will help you all to find the strength to vote correctly today and overcome the strong views and the damage currently being done here today or over the past couple of weeks. And so thank you for listening, and I hope you all consider it. I did bring something I wanted to leave you. I hope you all will consider going to this website, the Implicit Association Test, and taking this test. It's a very interesting way to reveal some of our own biases and things. And I think it enters into the issues that we speak to today. But what's most important is for you to take your authority and do the right thing. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Feemster.
Joseph Silveria, Elise Weatherly, Andrew Barbano.
Welcome, Mr. Severia.
Howdy, my name is Joseph Silvera.
I'm an ESB custodian over at Lois Allen and also a board member for WESP. In the past, we've had good working relationship with Tracy Davis, and we hope whoever fills that position in the future, or if she comes back to that position, we still continue to have a good working relationship, and that there's no interruption in that relationship. Thank you.
Thank you.
Elise Weatherly, Andrew Barbano, George Hardaway.
Good morning, Elise Weatherly, a Washoe County resident, and I just wanted to let you know a little bit about my history as to why you would want to listen to me. And I'm hoping that you guys are not like the Washoe County Commissioners, because I feel very strongly that they've already made their decision before any public comments are made, and I'm hoping you guys are listening. So both of my parents were teachers. My mother tried to squeeze me into her mold, and she crushed me. My dad handled it by getting drunk. So all I'm saying is we can't group teachers, we can't group people together, we can't group the kids together, because there is a difference. As Dr. Taylor and I know, there are two different kinds of children, okay? And it's hard to merge and migrate this system into that. One of the presenters said that that some students attack the teachers. That will happen. That's unfortunate, but that will happen. I feel like I didn't know that Tracy Davis was a black woman when I heard some very bad rumors about her. She's got a bad reputation in the community. Now, I can't say that that's a fact. I'm just saying this is what I've heard, that there's some incompetency going on. I feel personally that there's a very low bar that's been set by Washoe County. I feel like the citizens of this county are going to probably do an exodus. We're probably going to move on. You've got a theory that says every child by name, by face to graduate. Low bar. What you're doing is you're not factoring in those kids, those brilliant kids. There are some white, there's some black, there's some Asian, there's some Hispanic. They're brilliant. But everybody has got to have this low bar, and so you're graduating people just to make a name for yourself. I think that's really bad. I think that's going to make this system go down the tubes. I think it's time for a change. I think that intention does matter. What I will say is that Ms. Davis has a bad reputation in the community, but Miss Huckabee does not. I'm looking at this thing and I'm going, oh my goodness, is that the lady I used to work with? Is that the one that brought the kids from Worcester High School in and taught them how to apply for jobs? By giving a good reputation, by doing a good job, by being who you are? Is that the same woman? What I would say is if you guys have to take testimony, I would take hers. She's never lied to me. I stood up for Marvin Neal. I didn't know Marvin Neal was black. It didn't make one bit of difference to me what his skin color was. He got thrown out of Jan Evans, the place that I used to go up with Nathan to do music and try to get these kids' lives turned around. Well, guess what? Some of those kids there didn't want to turn around. They liked their lives. Marvin lost his chaplaincy after 25 years because he addressed one of the kids there with the truth. They didn't like it, so they threw him out. I will say that there is a separation that's going on. We know that. My separation would be, I would be with people that stood up for the truth. Ben Carson, I wanted to vote for him. He got squeezed out. So I went ahead and voted for Trump anyway because I don't trust Hillary Clinton with anything, any fiber in my being. I voted against, not for. So I'm just going to say that take these things into consideration. Reputation does make a difference. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Weatherly.
Andrew Barbano, George Hardaway, Donald Gallimore.
Welcome, Mr. Barbano.
Good morning. My name's Andrew Barbano, and I'm taking your pictures. I'm the editor of NevadaLabor.com. I spent most of the night writing 2,000 words about this inquisition today, and I hereby incorporate my comments, which all of you have received by email. I hereby incorporate those 2,000 words in comments here into the official record. Please do print them out and include them. Mr. Kelly, good morning. I know you can't talk to me, but are you the same Scott Kelly that is supposed to be starting his first day as Public Information Officer for the prison system today? Well, I hope you escape from this prison unscathed. Can't we all get along? I am the thing that comes home to me more than anything else, why the hell is this such a big deal? He said, she said. Can't you just get into a room and negotiate? Go get Donald Trump's Art of the Deal and learn how to negotiate. He's not very good at it, but there are books on it. Can't you fix this thing? The best reporter in Nevada, Dennis Myers, has an editorial in the current Reno News and Review. And he notes that we're going through the same thing we went through with Pedro Martinez 3-4 years ago. Changing the figurehead isn't going to change anything. The endemic problems of this organization, of this community, abide and obtain. The sub rosa racism of this community abides. And it's around all of us. We just don't talk about it. I have been a very vicious critic of Tracy Davis in the past. I was a worse critic of her two hot dog charlatan predecessors. By comparison, Tracy looks good. I never thought I'd be up here today. I guess somebody's backing up a truck. I never thought I'd be here today in support of Tracy and opposing her firing. Don't do this thing. Don't do this community any further. Negotiate this deal, make this right, move forward. You look at your jobs as riding herd on Tracy and you can't talk to the rank and file. You're hearing from them today. This shall not stand. Otherwise, it's meet the new boss, beep, same as the old boss.
Thank you, Mr. Barbano.
Damn, that's insulting. Which is the order of the day. Be well, raise hell.
George Hardaway, Donald Gallimore, Malia Pukta.
Welcome, Mr. Hardaway.
Well, thank you. Good morning. This is a sad day in the Washoe County School District, reiterating what Pastor Dupree was mentioning. Again, my name is George Hardaway. I'm a retired teacher, coach, and administrator here in the Washoe County School District. What's heavy on my heart this morning is my 5 grandkids that will continue to attend the Washoe County schools. And I am looking at their future here as I speak. I was at a board meeting back on March 12th, and I spoke on behalf of Superintendent Tracy Davis regarding her professional performance these past 5 or 6 years. And I said that she is one of the most scrutinized, has been one of the most scrutinized superintendents here in Washoe County. I said that because I saw her performance and what she was doing and how visible she's been in our community. We spoke of the graduation rate. I remember a 55% graduation rate back during my tenure, and nobody said anything about it, pro or con. She has done so much for us here during her time. Her initiatives are outstanding. Her parent-teacher home visit project, support equity and diversity. All kids will learn. All kids will be college, career, and cultural ready. Initiatives. I tell you, world-class students are what we're looking for here in Washoe County. And she needs to continue her tenure here to make sure that we include all students. Recapitulating back when I was a kid growing up in the Deep South in Georgia, I was reminded of so much that goes on in terms of kids being disenfranchised, especially kids of color. And that's why I got into administration, because I saw so many kids of color falling through the cracks and ending up on drugs, babies, having babies, etc., and etc., because of how they were turned off with the Washoe County School District and how they was treated. And I'm thinking about my grandkids right now. How will they be treated with what I see going on here in Washoe County? And that's my concern. I have a home back in Georgia, and I'm telling you, it is important that we get this right. Not only are all the kids watching, parents watching, and the community is watching, but God is watching you. And I want you to understand how I feel right now.
Thank you,
I'm
Mr.
serious.
Hardaway. Thank you.
Please understand what we're trying to do here.
Thank you.
Correct it.
Donald Gallimore, Malia Pukta, John Galney.
Welcome, Mr. Gallimore.
Hello, a little levity here. Let's smile and enjoy ourselves. We're here for another big session. This is something that I didn't expect to be here for. Gosh. Basically, I'm not concerned about Tracy so much, Miss Davis. She's doing her job, and as everyone thinks they are. But we're last. We're last. We're last. We're last. I'm a champion. I'm a winner. I don't lose. I've coached and I've won. And I do other things that I've won. I've had a great family and they're winners, and I've won. I've won. But I do not want to see my Nevada school district lose. And so that's why I'm still here. That's why I'm here right now. I'm not concerned about these proceedings. They're going to turn out like they turn out. But my friend and colleague John Eppolito and Protect Nevada Children, we're here to make sure that this school district runs correctly. And correctly means that we have to go back to rote. We have to go back to books. We have to go back to learning. We have to have physical education. We have to have good lunches, nutritious lunches. We don't have that anymore. None of it. And this is just a sad thing to say, for me to say that we're losing, that we're losers, is the worst thing in the world for me. It hurts. But main thing is that Protect Nevada Children is just that, to protect Nevada's children, the children. And you can reach us on Facebook page, Protect Nevada Children. And, Nick Polakaitis Elementary School is going to get one-on-ones for kindergartners. That's wrong. You know how many times I've asked you to stop SEL, social emotional learning. Stop, stop, stop. Most research shows young children learn more when their devices are on paper instead of laptops. The negative effects of screen time on kids, it's negative. Steve Jobs, I mentioned this last week. Steve Jobs, Bill Gates, none of them let their kids on tablets, on the computer. None of them. They own the biggest corporations in the world. What we need to see is that we need to go back to rote, to concrete learning, and that's what I want to see.
Thank you, Mr. Gallimore.
Malia Pukta, John Galney, Gwen Taylor.
Welcome, Ms. Pukta.
Good morning. I feel like I must have been here enough times to get my name pronounced correctly finally. I don't have a nice speech prepared. I came just to kind of make notes of what was being said, kind of shooting from the hip here. So I apologize if it's not as concise or pretty as I would like for it to be. First of all, I feel like I have to preface my statements with, I, in general, am not a fan of the board. It's not an envious position to be in. You guys take the blame for everything, whether you deserve it or not. You're judged on the actions of your predecessors. As far as I know, 3 of you are brand new as of January. The rest of you were just elected in 2014. So you shouldn't be blamed for what happened before. I feel as though the appointment of Ms. Davis as superintendent was flawed from the start. From my understanding, her predecessor was ousted illegally. She was put in as interim, which makes perfect sense, but then there was no search for a new superintendent in which she was placed into a pool of candidates. It was kind of, you're there, so just stay there and we'll just deal with it. I feel like that is a bad way to appoint a leader of any organization, public, private, or otherwise. I hear a lot about graduation rates. I'm not there yet. My 3 kids are still really young. My oldest is about to start 8th grade. My youngest is about to start 4th grade. So I haven't paid attention to graduation rates because, like I said, as of right now, doesn't matter. But I feel like there's a lot of comment from teachers as to the way higher graduation rates are being achieved. The standards are being lowered. We're passing on, as one teacher said, functionally illiterate young adults. They're not going to make it in the world. They're going to become the statistics and not the good statistics. The teachers are the ones that are in the trenches. If they're complaining about the leadership that they are encountering, I think that that's something that has to take very heavy weight with this board as they go forward and make any kind of decision. I know some of you at least were educators, and so you can appreciate where they're coming from. This board has, in many ways, almost all ways that I've seen, and I've attended a lot of your board meetings, you've always been a champion for and a defender of Miss Davis. So for anybody to say anything different, they're misinformed. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Parka.
John Gwalney, Gwen Taylor, Jana Gaitis.
Mr. Galtney, welcome.
Good morning. For the record, my name is John Galtney. I'm here, maybe a little bit of information. I have 46 years of experience in public education, both at the higher ed level and at the public level. My wife's taught in the system 26 years, so I feel like I'm kind of founded in the business. I came in to say, first of all, to you, take a deep breath. This will pass in time. Listen to your attorney. He apparently gives you good advice, and then make the decision as to what's right. Often you can get pushed into believing that you need to do this or that because of public opinion. You're elected to be the public opinion. Make the decision as if it were your children sitting in every single seat in the public school system. If you do that, you'll make the right answer. However, I didn't get up earlier than usual, since I'm retired, to come and give you that advice because I figured you'd hear that from somebody else. I came actually to speak to those who support Tracy Davis and so on. She's a very young administrator with experience ahead of her, and so however this is finished, be as compassionate, because I've never seen in 46 years something to come to this point where the two groups can work harmoniously together in the future. Something has to give. When that takes place, she'll have to rebuild her career. And she's a person of quality who may have made a mistake, has to work to feel her life back together. I feel very strong about this particular issue because I've seen it happen to dozens of administrators in the past. To those who support her, do not force her to destroy her career, to create a circus for the folks who have parked their vans out in front. That's the unfortunate thing about what happens here today. Lots of people will be hurt, and you can make this as compassionate and as caring as possible. Good luck to you, and thank you for your service.
Thank you, Mr. Galtney.
Gwen Taylor, Jana Gaitis, Kim Jackson.
Ms. Taylor, are you here? Okay, let's go on to Ms. Gaitis.
Hello, my name is Jana Gaitis, and I do not know, I don't have enough information to know what's happening, but I am a parent of a child in special ed in Washoe County School District. And so I'm going to share with you what I do know. I do know that several years ago, my daughter wrote to Tracy Davis about a concern she had. And Tracy Davis wrote her back. And that I will always be grateful for that, because my daughter is so shy, and someone in a position of power and authority gave her a voice and gave her the power that her voice matters. And so it is from that position that I want to share with you as a parent that has seen some things. My child is in high school, so I've seen a lot of things in the special ed program that concerns me. And from that place, I would like to share with you my concerns. Last year, my daughter was in a math class. Math is not her subject. And she was in with a number of other students on IE programs. And she came home and she said, "Mom, the teacher's written us off. The teacher doesn't care about us. It's obvious. He's on his computer the whole time. He's really not giving any instruction. I want to learn, but I'm not being helped." Last year, my daughter came home and told me that she had teachers trying to convince her to get an adjusted diploma because they didn't want to follow the IEP. This year, when I found that out, Mama Bear came in big time, and I hired a paid advocate. I've spent hundreds of dollars to make sure my daughter gets an education. And this year, a whole new group of teachers that are following her IEP. She's a straight A student. The difference that teachers can make for a child is so huge. I just beg you to put the ego aside and follow what's fair and what is true, and give a voice to those kids that don't have one on teachers. And their morale is going to be dependent on how good a job they do. If they don't feel they're supported, they're not going to support the students, and it's the students that will pay. Thank you.
Thank you, Mrs. Gaitis.
Gwen Taylor, Kim Jackson, Kim Carl.
Welcome, Ms. Taylor. Oh, this is Ms. Jackson. Okay, I'm sorry.
I'm here because I'm a Washoe County School District parent, and I am glad for Tracy. My son is also in an IEP program, and if it wasn't for Ms. Davis, he would have been completely overlooked. I was also just not treated correctly by the school that he was attending. They completely fabricated a situation that Tracy made them investigate. After investigation, all charges against me were dropped, and it came out that I never tried to push the door in on a child, as the door has to be buzzed open. Also, she's just very patient. She's very deliberate in her job, and I feel everybody should just really look into this. Look at the evidence, because I've been looking at it, and it's not conclusive. And we need to do a better job of getting people together and not being against each other just for creed or color. That doesn't fit. We need to actually get together, look deeply into the evidence, make sure that we are doing the right thing. And I know that when people are misinterpreting as me, that people don't take their word as well as other people. But I have epilepsy. I fell onto a table, and that's why my 2 bottom teeth are missing. But that doesn't have anything to do with anything. But please, just look into the evidence. Make sure that everyone here is giving Ms. Davis a fair trial. Make sure that we are actually looking at the real facts. Because as I find out, this came in 2017. We're 2 years ahead now. Why are we now looking into it? Why didn't we look into this 2 years ago when it came up in someone else's case? Why are we now looking at it in her case? We need to really get into the real facts of this. Is it someone that's above her that really just don't like her and trying to get her out of there? So this is what they're using. Let's really get into the deep evidence of this case and really make sure that we are doing the right thing and not just something that someone else wants because they want her position. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Jackson.
Kim Carl, Sierra Gill, Clifford Porter.
Ms. Carl, welcome.
Hi, my name is Kim Carl. I'm a teacher here in Washoe County School District. I'm going into my 20th year in August. And I just wanted to make a short statement about how it has felt very chaotic for many, many years in the district. And the morale is put onto the teachers to hold up good morale with the students. And I just wanted to keep that in mind, that we're the ones in the trenches, and we just really, really hope that you can get through this process quickly and maybe start fresh. We start fresh with better morale, better leadership. We're desperate for leadership to guide us in that morale instead of us having to take it on all of the time. And that's all. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Carl, and thank you for serving the kids.
Thank you.
Sierra Gill, Clifford Porter, John Ross.
Ms. Gill, welcome.
Thank you. I wasn't originally going to speak, but I have been inspired by a bunch of other people here who have been speaking, so I'm just kind of winging it. I just wanted to say I am a third-year teacher, going into my third year technically, and all weekend I have been questioning my decision to become a teacher. It has been my dream to teach math. I love children, I love teaching, and I love math, and I wanted to inspire students to have that same love of math as I do because I know it opens so many doors for them. But higher up, I am seeing all of this disarray. There's no collaboration. I don't feel like I'm a part of the actual Washoe County School District. I just feel like I'm out here doing my own thing and I have no support, and I'm not seeing this kind of support that I should be, especially as a new teacher. In addition to that, I understand as the superintendent, Tracy Davis has a lot on her hands. And I know it is a lot of work. She's getting completely blindsided by everything. Everything is falling onto her plate. But at the same time, when someone comes in here demanding $400,000 as a salary, at that point I lose all respect for them because I do not believe that you are here within the education system if you want that much money. Again, I am a third-year teacher, and I'm working 4 jobs just to pay the bills. I am exhausted. I am mentally exhausted. I am burned out. And 1 month of my salary a whole year of my salary is 1 month of our superintendent's salary. A superintendent that I have yet to meet, that I have tried to contact. And I just don't feel like the system is going to work very well because we are going to be losing teachers who truly care about our profession, who truly care about the students, because there is just no support. There's no collaboration, and I don't know, I just do not feel like everything that I have joined the school for, this district for, is really working out. So I just wanted to throw that in there. Thank you.
Ms. Gill. Hang in there. We
Thank you.
appreciate you.
Thank you.
Clifford Porter, John Ross.
Welcome, Mr. Porter.
Thank you. Well, good morning, everyone. I'm here as a concerned parent. I've been watching since it started online on YouTube because I had a doctor's appointment. I don't know what my doctor just said because I was too busy on my phone the whole time, trying to not miss anything. And one thing that stood out was Ms. Davis's opening statement. And I hear everybody talking about how she's not here for the kids and she's not here for the kids and all this stuff. But that was the only thing that I heard her say that really was like touching my heart, that she is here for these kids and she's been here for these kids the whole time. And that's her agenda. And a lot of people, the day she got here, even as acting, have been on her about her salary and everything besides the work that she's doing and the work that she's trying to do. And you guys are fighting, or some people are fighting against all of that, her money and her where she lives and all this other stuff, instead of really digging down and understanding what's going on here. This school district was in a mess when she got here, and it's still, and it's turning, and things are turning. My son went from Hug to Spanish Springs and back to Hug in the last year and a half. He's a troubled kid. We're working on it. But so he came from Spanish Springs and went back to Hug, and he thought he was going to be able to skip class and do things differently. But he's like, Dad, the school is so much different now. Like, they're not playing any games. And that speaks to people making a change and people making a difference. And that has to come from the top. If you're going to blame the top for the bad, you have to blame the top for the good. We need to have these kind of meetings when things are going well and show people that things are happening. But all we do is talk about the bad stuff. I mean, things need to change, guys, and I'm here as a concerned parent to hope that Ms. Davis gets to continue to do the work she's doing, because I see change. I see it in the special needs. I see it in other areas as well. And to speak on the bullying of the teachers real quick, you can't make everybody happy. I worked for a man who had a reputation of being a bully as a boss, but as long as I worked for him, which was 5 years, he never gave me any of that. And the reason for that is because I did my job.
Thank you, Mr. Porter.
John Ross, Corey Zancanella.
Mr. Ross,
Yes, ma'am.
welcome. You have 3 minutes.
Thank you, John Ross. So I just wanted to say that I've watched very closely this for several years, this particular episode of In the Fortunes of the Washoe County School District. And the only thing most of us can do in situations like this is speak from what we have seen and what we know, because a lot we don't know. It seemed to me in the very beginning that the process was somewhat flawed, because a lot of people were just it didn't happen in a normal conventional way, and so therefore it seemed to become a platform for a lot of maybe suspicion, maybe factual, I don't know. But I know that that we come in this nation, we come from a history of involvement, of knowledge. People, we are probably the most informed, and of course we're not perfect. I'm not saying, but I'm saying we come from the most informed, involved citizenry in the world. And so naturally people want to know. People really what they want is confidence in the process. And the only thing that should matter in a situation like, and I believe that we're all one family, we're all made by one God. I don't know where else we can go with that, except that we all come from one source. We're all brothers and sisters in this world. And so I think the only thing that can hold water in a situation like this for the board and for the people that are interested parties is facts, evidence, and details. Is there some sort of substantial support for allegations that something has happened that's wrong that would call for some sort of action, dismissing or firing someone, or is there not? That's the first thing. That's the only thing that should matter. The only thing that I also see that is extremely important, and I don't know if there's a remedy for this or not, is that there needs to be more transparency. It's not enough to just say we can't speak to things. We can't say this. Parents and teachers and their children are too dear. The situation is too dear to think that it's just going to go away. People need to know what's going on and talk to them, and they'll have confidence in you, and maybe we will have and you will have confidence in us. We need to have confidence in each other, but we cannot do it in the dark. So God bless everyone. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Ross.
Corey Zancanella, Lucille Aiden.
Is it Zancanella? Yes. Close enough? All right, welcome.
Hi, my name is Corey Zancanella, and I'm an educator at Smithridge Elementary here in Washoe County. I work with wonderful educators and outstanding students. I also want to thank all the parents who are speaking today because we need you as advocates, and it's really inspiring to see you here today. However, we are losing inspiring educators due to lack of support and active suppression of innovative teaching within this county, which is really disheartening. However, this doesn't start or end with Ms. Davis. This extends to the board, our area supers, and our site admin. Of course, there are leaders within these positions, but the climate is so political and skewed that it seems the true interests of the students and the educators is overlooked. The district is hiding poor conduct all around to save face instead of actually doing what is best for our students. We need strong leaders, but we've cultivated a climate that is causing great leaders to leave. We cannot begin to change the climate in this district by shortcutting this process. Ms. Davis deserves an independent investigation, and in no way should Kirsten McNeil be appointed as an interim super since she's directly involved in this entire situation. A change can begin today with you. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Zancanella, and thank you for your service as a teacher.
Lucille Aiden, Kitty Jung.
Welcome, Ms. Aiden.
Thank you. Good afternoon, board, members of Washoe County School District. I am Lucille Aiden, and I have been in this community since 1962. And I have been involved with the Lincoln Park Elementary School, Dilworth Middle School, and started PTSA at Reed High School. I was on Sierra Council and on the board of the Nevada State PTA. I worked with Washoe County School District for 12 years at Agnes Risley School. I was first clinical aide in Washoe County. And I do know what happens in the school district. It's not always good all the time, and the board is not going to agree with everybody that comes in. They are going to find some fault in their position, and that's understandable. Nobody does anything right, not even the board. And I have heard, and I've talked to Tracy, I've known her since she came here, and she is concerned about the children in Washoe County. She may not have done everything right, but you're not going to find anybody that's going to do everything right. Even members of your board is not going to do everything right. You all have fault. And I applaud Tracy for caring about kids and doing a great job. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Aiden.
Kitty Jung.
Welcome, Commissioner Jung.
Thank you, Madam President, Madam Clerk, and Board of Trustees. I had prepared comments, but I've been here listening to the other comments, and I felt like rather than to repeat what they had said, I would talk in broad strokes. I just received your fact sheet. When I walked in, I was 15 minutes late because there's absolutely no parking to be had here. I feel like this would have been the day that we shut down the non-essential staff, so we would have had parking available for the public to be here rather than last week. Not my call. Again, broad strokes. I want to talk about my experience here in Washoe County. I came here 20 years ago, pursuing a career in academe. My husband followed me, and we decided to make this our home. This is our chosen home. We were not born here. I didn't have any of the bona fides that are considered to be necessary and important to run for public office. I am not a fourth-generation Nevadan. I'm a proud Californian. Californians paid through my K through master's degree public schooling from their generosity. I also don't have a big last name. My dad is nobody important here as well. They followed us 15 years ago. I don't have personal wealth. And so I guess what I'm saying to you is I understand what it's like to be part of the out-group. And I beseech you to end this insularity here in Washoe County. Washoe County has been known to work for a select few, for what I would say the 1%. And I find it completely astonishing that this information has been held since 2017 on Miss Superintendent Tracy Davis, but today is the day that this has been decided, or May 29th, that this has been decided to get rid of her contract, to publicly embarrass her, and to, for me, not do due diligence, especially in light of the fact that she is a public figure. And her biography, like all of our biographies now, will follow us via Google. So it's best, to my extent of being a public official, that we do things publicly that are important and necessary for the people that trust us, and we protect at the same time their personal lives. I'm not seeing that here. I've never seen it here. Not only in my own experience, I couldn't imagine being African American at the same time on top of that. I will tell you, this is an indictment on all of us. And the way you vote on to do your due diligence for a superintendent who has the highest graduation rates, helped pass WC1, of which the Washoe County Board of Commissioners would not even second my vote to implement, which would have saved us a lot of money, and we'd already been a year ahead. Please, please, change the course of this community, because the community will change the course of you. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner Jung.
That's all I have for this item. Lori O'Leary.
Ms. O'Leary? Welcome, thank you.
Hello, welcome. My name is Lori O'Leary. Thank you for having me. I had something prepared, but it is not relevant at this point. I just want to say that if this was any other business, any other field of the world, if someone broke their contract on such an important issue as integrity, ethics, and honesty, they'd be fired on the spot. Of course, we have to go through open meeting laws, so the process is a bit different. Her merits before this do not have any issue in this matter. Whether she accomplished above anybody else in the world, it bears no point. If she broke her contract, which we do not know the facts, we will never know the facts. Our world is social media facts. You guys have the information. If she broke her contract, she should be fired. Bar none, black and white. I was a special education teacher in this district for 6 months. I lasted 6 months. I communicated with every single administrator up to Tracy Davis. I was being bullied and harassed to break special education policy, and I said no. For saying no, I was harassed brutally. My day became working till midnight, 5 nights a week, to accomplish things that I was being asked to do. But I would not do the one thing that would harm my students. Matter of fact, 3 years later, every single administrator who I spoke to has either been investigated for other issues or moved. Not one is in their current position, but they all still have a position in this district. That to me is an embarrassment. You guys have a hard job, no doubt about it, but you have the ability to clean the slate, to create new policies. My case was investigated for 3 months. Never once did anybody ask me for the 1-inch thick file of emails that I have. No one once asked me how I was being treated on a daily basis. No one once cared what was happening to the students. An administrator, no matter how high you go up, is only as good as their employees below them. You lift them up, you will be lifted up. You've heard from numerous employees, and the surveys tell you how the employees below her feel about her. That speaks for itself. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. O'Leary.
Karen England.
Ms. England, welcome.
Thank you. I'm not going to do the whole picture thing. I don't have a real camera. Thank you. I was not going to speak, but as I was listening to people talk, I am one of the people that sat up Friday night and I printed things and I read things and I felt weird reading people's texts. Had to go through, reread the charges, then read the text, try and put it all together, look at what is going on. And the bottom line is this: it is clear that Byron Green and David Lasik were giving information to someone who was suing the school district. I can't answer if Tracy Davis knew it or not. Looks like she did. But at the very minimum, she was negligent, highly negligent, with letting this information go to the person who is suing her employer and suing this school district. That's what this whole thing today is about. It's not about graduation rates, any of that. Any of us in our job, if we were aiding and abetting someone suing our employer, we would be gone. We would be gone. There's nothing more to look at. Good or bad. You don't just help someone sue your employer, and you don't sit by when others are aiding and abetting the suing of the employer. You just don't do that. And this is a public school with public taxpayer funds. That's who's going to get hurt. And it's wrong. And again, at a minimum, she was totally negligent in her duties as the superintendent to allow that to go on.
Thank you, Ms. England.
Aquila.
Welcome.
Thank you.
What
Good
is
morning,
your last
everyone.
name?
Aquila Brand, ma'am. Good morning, everyone. My name is Aquila Brand. I'm a student-led, I'm an advisor of a student-led organization that's called Y to Y. We take a stand against violence. This particular situation that's going on in our community, there's about 100 students that this has piqued their interest, so they are watching you. I'm just letting you guys know that they're watching you. We meet every Wednesday from 3 to 4, and these students are watching everything that's going on. I just want to convey to you guys, they just want to let you guys know, just be willing to work together with this whole situation. Just be willing to work together and come to a proper conclusion. Also, I wanted to say to Ms. Davis, there's a lot of young girls at Sierra Nevada Job Corps that are looking at you. Women of color, we want to say thank you because you've been handling this situation gracefully. You have been rising above hate since you've been in this position, and we just want to say thank you, and we'll continue to look at you. You are a model of integrity, and continue to do what you're doing.
Thank you, Ms. Brand.
Anicia Beckworth.
Ms. Beckworth.
Hello again. I came here, my name is Anisha Beckwith. I have 4 children inside Washoe County School District. Currently 3 are at McQueen and 1 is at Verde Elementary. So I appreciate you giving me this time. I think 2 board meetings ago, I was also testifying about activity going on at McQueen, and I was hesitant to speak today, but I guess I'll just give it a go. Having 4 kids at McQueen and listening to the teachers that are here today, as well as all the teachers of all of my kids, I'm so stressed out. Representing a group on Facebook called Strength in Numbers. We're a group of 180 parents today that just want transparency within our district. A couple of things. When anyone ever mentions in the press, in the media, or here today, graduation rates, my heart drops. And the reason why is because I have a student who was absolutely, and God bless his soul, I love him, he's my son, passed through. He did not deserve to graduate. His attendance records were doctored. I have proof of this. We were contacting our school, McQueen, almost every single day for the last 2 months. And they graduated him. And I'm telling you right now, 100%, he didn't earn his graduation. So that was hard to watch. It was really interesting. He didn't struggle with his grades. He was a very a good student, but again, he wasn't doing the work. And miraculously, his deadline assignments were pushed through, and all of a sudden his grades would pop up as complete when I know that they weren't. That was last year. This year it continued to happen. I have a freshman at McQueen High School, and her assignments would be missing, and we would at home, drill her about her missing assignments. And I would contact the teachers, and the teacher, God bless her soul, basically stated that she was encouraged to make sure that those assignments got placed into the Infinite campus, regardless of whether they were done or not. So it showed me again and again that these teachers are being bullied and that they are encouraged to pass students through, and I assume that that's to increase graduation rates. My daughter, who is a junior this year at McQueen, got caught plagiarizing with over a dozen of her students in an AP history class at McQueen High School. No consequences. None at all. She was able to erase her plagiarized paper and redo it and hand it in. And then miraculously, she graduated that passed that class with an A after plagiarizing a major paper. That teacher, after speaking with him, was encouraged to make that happen by administration. The other thing that I really want to say real quick, Ms. Tracy Davis's lawyer said that she perhaps couldn't have been possibly emailing and texting at the same time. I've been watching her email during this whole presentation, so she's clearly capable of multitasking on her social media.
Thank you, Ms. Beckwith.
That is all I have.
Okay. Is there anyone else who would like to speak to the board on this item before we close the public comment?
Sorry, I would.
You've already spoken, though, sir.
Can I speak again?
No, I'm sorry. One bite at the apple. Is there anyone else that would like to speak to us? Okay, one more. We have one more. Welcome, Ms. Prothero.
Good morning. I just wanted to, I wasn't going to speak.
Can you give us your name, Verita?
Okay. I'm sorry. My name is Verita Prothero. I'm a native Nevadan and a product of the Washoe County School District, University of Nevada, and Wesley University for my master's degree. And I wasn't going to speak this morning, but I really felt after listening to all the commentary that I just wanted to say something to the board and also to the people who work within the district, that I hope that you will give Ms. Davis due diligence. From what I've seen and read in the newspaper and some of the documents I read, it seems like it's a lot of hearsay and maybe he said, she said, innuendo, and I just don't think that's a good place. But most importantly, I think it's important that the board went through this with Pedro, and it looked bad in the community, and this looks bad in the community. Closing the district looked petty, and quite frankly, it looked racist, that you would think that Ms. Davis was going to come in and do something horrible when there wasn't anything that in her past that suggested that something like that would happen. And it just looks bad. It smells bad. It looks bad in the community. And I think that you're all better than this. I know some of you personally, and I've worked on some campaigns and been involved with the school board. And you're all just better people than the way this looks in the community. And I wanted to tell you that because I don't know if people know that you're all just really good people trying to do a good job, but the way this is being handled, in my opinion, just looks bad. I hope that you'll give her due diligence. I hope that you'll just kind of take a breath, think about the way that things have been handled in the past and how they look in the community, especially to people of color. And not that we should be considered more than others, but please don't disregard, because we are a smaller percentage in the community, please don't disregard how these things look within our communities as well. So I know you all will do the right thing. I can trust that. Thank you very much for your time.
Thank you, Ms. Prothero. Is there anyone else, JJ? Okay.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Kim Hill Parker, and I've been a member of this community for 30 years. I moved here from Michigan in 1988, and I waited for a long time to see representation in the school board of my community. My son was educated in Michigan, had several opportunities for advanced learners, came here and got put in a class that demanded that he use a calculator for algebra instead of using his mind. He got so bored in school. In 2010, he skipped 3/4 of the school year and still got passed. 2010, she was not here then. I'm hearing a lot of words like intimidation, bullying, harassment, which is commonly used for women who are in a position of authority, who dare to push back against what seems to be the common or standard that's accepted. Don't insult our intelligence with so-called facts that appear to be based more on good old boy emotion and persuasion. Let's call this what it is. People are resistant to change, don't like being called out on their stuff and made to meet or held accountable and made to meet the standard that has been set for them. When people of color in this community tend to appear to do what hasn't been done in the past, they begin to be used as a scapegoat for everything else that's going wrong. We are calling for an independent investigation. I think she is due that. This had my mother, my 80-year-old mother, said this is a railroading. I agree. Thank you for your time.
Thank you, Ms. Parker. Is there anyone else?
My name is Michelle Abelo. I'm a former special education teacher with Washoe County School
Welcome,
District.
Ms. Abelo.
Thank you. I worked for the district for 6 years. I resigned because of bullying, lack of resources, frowned upon when you asked for resources. So things need to change in this district, and it needs to change the entire admin, or it's going to continue. Ms. Davis, she says she's here for the right reasons. I don't see that. I took a $20,000 pay cut to start teaching. I love my kids. Teaching's my passion. And I just hope the district makes some good changes.
Okay, thank you, Ms. Abelo. Okay, going once, going twice. Okay, we will close the public comment on this item. I want to just clarify for folks that the discussion before the board today is not a discussion of the general performance or things that have come before with regard to Ms. Davis. What the discussion is that's before the board relates to the fact sheet that has been made available out on the counter, and the facts that are related to the revelation and production of materials during discovery in a separate case that was brought to the attention of the district on May 29th. So that is what we have before us today. Are there any questions of board members before we begin discussion? We are missing a trustee, so why don't we take, can we take 5 minutes and come back so that we can all be focused on a quick biology break? Okay, folks, we're going to reconvene. If you could take your seats, thank you. Okay, thank you for coming to attention. Thank you. Okay, our special meeting is now back in session. Trustee Caudill.
Thank you. So I'm troubled by the several specific instances of confidential information provided by the superintendent's right-hand employee, whose spouse was the subject of a workplace investigation. This former leadership team member was not privy to any of the information, emails, or meetings. There is substantial evidence that reasonably supports the preliminary report was leaked, but I am really concerned with the series of text messages that clearly show information being leaked by Superintendent Davis's right-hand employee. For example, on May 10th, 2017, our attorney sent a confidential email at 11:01 a.m. and at 11:15 a.m., 14 minutes later, this right-hand employee of the superintendent is texting the subject of the investigation regarding the email, and this is on page PL0356. Then your right hand informs subject 1 that his or her attorney responded to the district's legal counsel, which did occur, again on page PL0356. The superintendent's right hand is literally receiving and sharing information in real time with the subject of a confidential workplace investigation. Similar situations happened on May 15, May 16, May 17, May 22, and June 1 of 2017. I have counted at least a dozen instances on these days of similar type leaks occurring, including details of communications. Tracy Davis was informed back in 2017 there was reason to believe leaks were occurring, and she was the only leadership team member to refuse questioning by outside investigators regarding the leaks. To me, if you knew this occurred, your act was deliberate. If you did not know, you should have known, which is gross negligence. Further, your lawyer states in Exhibit 18 to his letter that there is no proof that you were told the investigation was confidential. This argument is ridiculous. You are the CEO of this entity. No one should have to tell you to keep this information confidential. If we do need to tell you, this just proves the point that you are not the right person for this position. I'm also extremely troubled that your right-hand employee shared specifics from confidential meetings between you and your leadership team members managing the investigation. On page PL0357, your right-hand employee is sharing with subject 1 that there are problems with the preliminary report. The quote is 99% is feeling. I have viewed handwritten notes from meetings where the troubles with the preliminary report were discussed, including it contained too many emotions. On page PL0362, while you were conducting a meeting with your leadership team on May 22nd, 2017, from 3 to 5 p.m. to discuss the final report. During that meeting, your right-hand person literally texts subject 1 and tells him or her there are problems with the final report and shares the specific fact that Kristen and Dawn had a problem with the way their words were portrayed, which is literally what was being discussed in the meeting real time. This information came from you and no one else in that meeting, and all of this was to the detriment of the district. I've also been informed during this process that you stated on more than one occasion that you will burn down the district. In fact, I know it was reported to a district that you made such a comment in the airport, and a Washoe County resident heard you and reported it back to the district. This has all become made aware to me during this process. Now suddenly you are alleging disparate issues in the district. It was your responsibility to fix those, not to burn down the district. I have read and carefully considered the confidential attorney-client privilege and attorney work product information provided to the trustees by the district's Office of General Counsel, as well as the materials provided for this meeting. I have listened and considered the information provided by Ms. Davis and her counsel. Considering all the facts and circumstances, I find as a superintendent of schools, Ms. Davis knew or should have known what was going on in the district, in particular with two high-level and personally close leadership team members. As a trustee, my loyalty is to my community and to the staff and students of the school district, not to a superintendent that was disloyal to her own district. I move that substantial evidence exists to support that Ms. Davis deliberately, wantonly, willfully, recklessly, and with gross negligence provided or allowed access to confidential information from a workplace investigation to persons who had no right to that information and who she knew should not have access to such information due to conflicts of interest which were adverse to the district. Assisted persons in their complaints against the district by providing confidential information, by pushing their theories and or arguments against the district to confound the investigation, and or sharing communications between Ms. Davis and others to support their complaints. Change the findings of a workplace investigation to favor a person she provided information to, and based on information received from that person without properly considering the considerable contrary evidence against that person. Created or allowed others under her direct supervision to create a work environment of fear of retaliation and or harassment, and or failed to properly supervise high-level leadership team members whom reported directly to her, resulting in potential liability to the district. And as a result of Ms. Davis's deliberate, wanton, willful, reckless, and or gross negligent acts, Ms. Davis breached her employment agreement regarding her fiduciary duties of loyalty and care to Washoe County School District as required in paragraphs 2, 7, 7A, 7E, and 7G. Ms. Davis failed to meet her fiduciary duties under the law, in particular the duty of loyalty and duty of care. Ms. Davis further breached her employment agreement for violating board policies and administrative regulations, as well as the strategic plan as required in paragraphs 7C and E of her contract. And Ms. Davis acted with dishonesty, unprofessional conduct, neglect of duty, inadequate performance, failure to comply with such reasonable requirements as a board may prescribe, and or gross misconduct, which is any act or omission that is wanton, willful, reckless, or deliberate disregard of the interests of a school or school district or pupil thereof. And as a result, the substantial evidence of Ms. Davis's actions and or non-actions warrant her employment with the district be terminated for cause on this day, pursuant to her employment agreement, and it is so moved.
Is there a second? Second by Ms. Minetto. Is there discussion? Do any trustees want to make comments? Ms. Taylor, Dr. Taylor.
Thank you, Madam President. I too have a statement that I would like to read, if I may.
Absolutely.
First of all, I would like to thank everyone that's taken the time to come, to text, to email, to call, to grab us in the grocery store, and all of those things that we've all experienced over these last couple of weeks. And please know that even if we did our best, I know I can speak for my colleagues and myself, we certainly did our best to respond to everything that we could. If we missed you, it was not intentional. There were just a lot of messages that we got, and we've also really taken the time to read, to consider, to review, and such a level of interest just shows just how important this is to all of us in our community. I've received many views, many opinions, many thoughts. Some a big deviation from the fact, and some quite accurate, some making up their own facts, and that's part of what happens. I've done my very best, however, to consider all of them. I've even done some of my own research in terms of making sure that I learned as much as I could, about as much as I could, so that I can make the best possible decision moving forward. I also realize that no decision I make today, whatever it may be, will please everyone. That's difficult, but I realize that's a fact. And I also realize that no decision I make today will take away from the unfortunate events of the past 2 weeks, nor correct any wrongs of the past 2 years. Please know that today I have one intention and one intention only as I consider my decision. And to be honest, there'll be many things that I'll consider, as this is a very complex issue. But at the end of the day, I must do what I feel is best for the 64,000 students and 8,000 employees of this district. This is the solemn oath that I took when I took this seat, and I take that oath very seriously. So with that in mind, this is where I am. Findings contained in the information were extremely troubling, to say the least, and alarming, to say the best. There's no need to go over all of that. Again, we all know what they are. We all know that this is why we find ourselves here today. And as a board, we have a responsibility that we must take immediate action to protect the district, the students, and the employees from any further harm or injury. My initial thinking was that an investigation into the implications or allegations regarding Superintendent Davis should be pursued right away. And I shared that with the president. We had a couple of talks about that. That was my initial thinking. Partly because, of what we've learned about what's occurred over the past couple of years. And although I still think that an investigation would help to sort out some things, that it would change the what in terms of where we are. And this is partially because, first of all, this is a highly emotionally charged issue. And the past 2 weeks have been highly emotionally charged. And I may be understating that. Personally, I feel like I am. But I also think that we're at a point of no return. I think as a whole, a lot of confidence and a lot of trust has been lost. Superintendent Davis has most likely lost confidence in the community and in the board. And the community, and certainly the staff, as we've heard from, has most likely lost confidence and trust in Superintendent Davis. And so with that in mind, I don't think that we can go back. And that takes us to what I think is best as we move forward. As indicated in the meeting materials, there is no direct evidence that unequivocally ties Superintendent Davis to the leaking of confidential information that can be used in a lawsuit against the district. However, there is substantial circumstantial evidence that is difficult, if not impossible, to ignore that some inappropriate things did occur. And I don't think any of those should be ignored. Meanwhile, we as a district and we as a board, and certainly me personally as a board member, as the first African American board member to serve in this district, I have had the worst possible 2 weeks I could ever have imagined. President Highland, I know that you did your best to dodge bullets. Some hit you anyway, to maintain privacy and the respect of all those involved and of the personnel matters as required by law. When I first joined the board, it was on the tail end of what I originally thought was the most difficult time this district had ever had. Dang it, I said I wasn't going to cry. That was the departure of the prior superintendent, as had been mentioned here. I would like us to do everything that we can to do what's right and best, which has to include not going down that long, costly, disturbing road again. I don't want the district to suffer through that ever again, and in particular, not at this time, not on my watch. So my final thoughts. For the most part, I have been absolutely proud of my time on this board and proud of my time and the accomplishments that have been made working under the leadership of Superintendent Davis. But I also must recognize that considerable mistakes have been made, and consequently, and someone said this earlier, I don't think we can go back. I think for the various reasons of whether the last couple of years or the past couple of weeks in particular, it's really sad for me to say this, but I think her time here has run this course because I don't think we can put anything back in the bottle. Now, how do we get there? So now I think we should focus on putting us in the best position to move forward in the best possible manner for the students and staff of this district. And to me, that means 5 things. That means, first of all, making this transition period as short as possible so we can get back to our number 1 priority, educating children. Number 2, it means everyone must be willing to put emotions and even egos aside so we can move forward thoughtfully. And frankly, I think we need to take some of the heat out of the situation. 3, that means being as transparent as we can, while being respectful to the parties involved, and also adhering to the requirements of law regarding personnel decisions, personnel matters, and the open meeting law. And then I also think that coming up, number 4, coming up with an amicable settlement would be our best course of action in order for us to end this now. Because if we do not end this now, it is going to be a cloud that's over us in the next school year. It is going to be something that lingers. It is going to create a very difficult environment that the teachers reportedly, some at least, have shared their thoughts, and we've gotten many, many emails from others that have shared their thoughts as well as the environment and the culture moving forward. And my 5th thing is, if there is a pending lawsuit, if we don't end it now in some kind of amicable way, I don't really even know what that means, then most likely whatever judge is assigned to the case will require a settlement conference before hearing the case, and so we're probably going to end up making a settlement anyway. I believe this allows us to go into the school year with a period and not with a question mark. It takes the mystery out of whether or not Superintendent Davis will walk back in and resume her position. And I believe it sends the staff and the community a message that we want first and foremost, the stability, the safety, and the educating of our children and our staff in our buildings to be our number 1 priority.
Thank you, Dr. Taylor. Is there anyone else on the board who'd like to make some comments? Trustee Kelly.
Thank you, Madam President. The citizens expect the Washoe County School Board to make tough decisions. And I certainly ran for the school board to do what's right for the staff, the students, and the community. Now, there's been a lot of discussion about Superintendent Davis as a leader, including her successes, her failures. I know how tough the position is. I know superintendents have strengths and weaknesses and that they're human. But as Madam President had said, and as several speakers have said, that's not what we're here for today. This special meeting is to talk about one thing. Did Superintendent Davis use her position as superintendent to influence an internal investigation against the school district? And I think the evidence shows that she did. When the preliminary report about bullying and harassment of our special education department came out in 2017, and this was a classified document that only Superintendent Davis and a handful of other people had and knew about. Within just 4 days, 2 top-ranking school district employees had a copy, and they were using this report to set up a defense against the school district. Now, I've carefully read the 200 pages of all the emails and notes and text messages, as well as the attorney-client privilege confidential report, which was about 100 pages. And reading through all that material, I found at least 14 instances of sensitive information being leaked by Superintendent Davis's closest advisor. Some of these leaks occurred within minutes of her receiving the information. I'll be specific. I saw handwritten notes by our legal team from April 6, 2017, that referenced Superintendent Davis saying in a meeting that she didn't want disgruntled employees applying for a specific position. Later that same day, and this is referenced on pages PL0386 and PL0392, these 2 high-ranking employees make negative comments about employees who applied for that same position. This isn't a coincidence. And there's many other examples of this throughout the information that I've reviewed. Certainly I'm concerned about all the examples of, dozens of examples of harassment and bullying of staff that occurred during and after the investigation, using information from the preliminary report that I think Superintendent Davis leaked. And if she didn't knowingly leak it, but left it on her desk unsecured, that's just as bad. That's gross negligence. The evidence presented to us, I feel, is overwhelming. The findings against Superintendent Davis are disturbing. They made me sick to my stomach to read. I think Superintendent Davis purposefully undermined the investigation. She exhibited gross negligence. I think our staff, our students, and the community deserve better. And I'll support the motion that terminates Superintendent Davis's employment with Washoe County School District for cause pursuant to her employment agreement.
Thank you, Trustee Kelly. Anyone else? Vice President Raymond?
After thoroughly reviewing all of the evidence and carefully listening to all of the comments made here today, I do support termination with cause for gross negligence.
Thank you, Vice President Raymond. Anyone else? Trustee Minetto.
As a retired music teacher of Washoe County School District, today is the anniversary of my retirement. I've been very aware of the tension that was prevalent in the district for the last few years. When I learned of the discovery and saw the pages and pages and pages of despicable ongoing acts, I was somewhat saddened and very disappointed with what had been allowed. I am disappointed with the superintendent's right-hand employee that he thinks it was okay to brag about setting up our deputy superintendent. I'm troubled by the leaking of the preliminary report as well as dozens of other leaks of information regarding the confidential workplace investigation. A confidential workplace investigation in which the right hand of the superintendent's spouse was investigated. Given the relationship and information I viewed, it is only logical to find that the superintendent intentionally or negligently was part of the leak. The discovery is also clear that Subject 2 of the workplace investigation had no problem going to the superintendent for protection and to support his false claims against the district. I noticed this on page PL 0572 and in other locations. There are so many more examples. And I recognize that much of this will be litigated, and I think it is unfortunate that people go to the courts instead of accepting the responsibility of their actions or the actions of those that they are responsible for. I think the superintendent knew or should have known information was leaking, that she supported the subjects against the district, and that she created a culture of fear and retaliation by her right hand and Subject 2. The evidence is overwhelming, 200-plus pages of discovery, the district communication from the Office of General Counsel, a 34-page report with 25 exhibits, all of which corroborates these details. I believe that after seeing the evidence, the board has enough information and that the termination of the current superintendent is the best thing for our school district and our kids.
Thank you, Ms. Minetto. Well, I will add my comments. This is an extremely difficult day for the Washoe County School District and its families and its employees. And it's unfortunate that the district is dealing with such an unpleasant turn of events at the leadership level when we all want to focus on continuing the good work this district is doing to fulfill its mission to educate our children in a safe, healthy, and caring manner. We have thousands of good people who work hard to serve the children of this community every day, and they deserve our best. And to be clear, while this may be a difficult time, as the elected Board of Trustees, we have a sworn duty to take action in the best interests of the district. We do not have to find acts of Ms. Davis are deliberate pursuant to her employment agreement. The standard is merely gross negligence, but her acts exceed gross negligence. I have read and carefully considered all the information from the district's Office of General Counsel in the form of an attorney work product and attorney-client privilege report and the fact sheet that has been shared with all of you and disseminated to each of the trustees for consideration. The report is compelling. and I have no difficulty in reaching a decision in this matter. I find there is substantial evidence that Ms. Davis should not continue as the superintendent of schools for this district. I find there is substantial evidence that Ms. Davis knew or should have known about the gross misconduct and extreme unprofessionalism of two of her highest-ranking staff members who reported to her directly. She did not take action to prevent their misconduct and unprofessionalism, even though she was advised to do so. As a CEO, she should have heeded that advice. She actively facilitated access to unauthorized information by putting the offending individual over the IT department. The arguments presented today on behalf of Ms. Davis do not negate that evidence. Ms. Davis' legal counsel continues to try to cloud the real issues, Ms. Davis' conduct in this matter, and that specific conduct is the sole subject of this special meeting today. As the superintendent, Ms. Davis knew that employee workplace investigations are highly confidential, and she was specifically advised by the Office of the General Counsel during that 2017 workplace investigation to ensure that no confidential information related to the investigation was to be accessed by or available to one of the highest level leadership team members, because that individual's spouse, another high level leadership team member, was one of the subjects of the investigation. During the course of the investigation, Ms. Davis was informed that it appeared that confidential information from the investigation was somehow being disclosed to individuals that were not part of the investigation team. At that time, Ms. Davis denied any knowledge of the confidential information being leaked. However, substantial evidence has come forward to this board that Ms. Davis either provided or allowed or did not prevent access to confidential information from the investigation to one of her highest level direct report leadership team members and two other leadership team members that were subjects of the investigation, including investigation documents, investigation reports, email communications, attorney-client privilege communications, attorney work product, and or verbal communications among senior leadership team making up the investigative team. Again, all of these confidential items were breached. I find there is substantial evidence that Ms. Davis provided or negligently allowed disclosure of confidential investigation information which was used to assist the subjects of the investigation with their complaints against the district. In fact, Ms. Davis admitted to me when I served her the original notice of a special meeting on June 13, 2019, that many people could have gotten the confidential investigative report in her office. Access should have been reasonably prevented by securing the confidential investigation report, as is appropriate management practice. Ms. Davis used information from one of her highest level leadership team members and the two subjects of the investigation based on their knowledge of the confidential investigation to provide their arguments against the district in order to confound the investigation. Ms. Davis used information she received from one of the subjects of the investigation to change the investigation findings related to that subject of the investigation. And she failed to properly supervise and take steps to correct or discipline a subject of the investigation and one of her highest level leadership team members, and allowed them confidential information and allowed their relationship to her to create a hostile work environment which exposes the district to potential liability. Though it grieves me deeply, I find there is substantial evidence that Ms. Davis' actions and or non-actions constitute acts of dishonesty, unethical conduct, and gross negligence in the performance of her duties under her employment agreement. Acts of dishonesty, gross misconduct, insubordination, unprofessional conduct, inadequate performance, failure to comply with such reasonable requirements as a board may prescribe, and neglect of duty under NRS Chapter 391. Violation of her fiduciary duties of care and loyalty to the district. Violations of board policies 9200, harassment and discrimination prohibited, and Board Policy 5700, safe and respectful learning environment. Violations of administrative regulations 4425, staff complaint process, harassment, sexual harassment and intimidation, and violations of the district strategic plan goal 5, objective 5.1. I find further that there is substantial evidence that Ms. Davis' actions and or non-actions warrant her employment with the district to be terminated for cause on this day pursuant to her employment agreement. Is there any other discussion by the board? Yes, Dr. Taylor.
Thank you, Madam President. It grieves me deeply for us to be here. I can't even find the words to express that. never thought we'd be here. It is, it would, obviously, I can see where people are lining up. It was certainly my hope that an amicable resolution, and I understand that work was happening and fell apart. I mean, I do recognize that, for whatever those reasons may be, that it was my hope that would be our solution, to this. And I think that would have solved us the pain that's to come, I believe, because I believe there's certainly still some pain that's to come, and I think that would have been in the best interest of the district, of the staff, and even of Superintendent Davis. But I understand where we are, and I do think that, unfortunately, regardless of where we ended up here, as I said before, we just can't put it back in the bottle. And I think that's the one thing that probably all sides of the issues would agree, is that we can't go back. And it's too bad that we can't go back. So my motion has not gotten any, my potential motion has not gotten any support. So I will support the motion just because I know we can't go back.
Thank you, Dr. Taylor. Any other comments? All in favor of Trustee Caudill's motion, seconded by Trustee Minetto, please say aye. Aye. Opposed? Thank you. The motion passes 6-1. Thank you, folks. We do have another item on the agenda, so the motion to terminate for cause did pass. I'll give you a couple of minutes for those of you who are not staying for item number 2. We would ask that you please clear the boardroom so that we can continue our business. And for members of the media, we will be having a press briefing as soon as we've concluded our business and reset the boardroom. So folks, if you have conversations, if you would take them outside the boardroom, please. Thank you. Okay, we will go ahead on with our meeting. We've had a lot of emails about the need for an appointment of an interim superintendent, and I just want to clarify two things. One thing I want to clarify is that per board policy, the definition of an acting superintendent is when there is a superintendent and that person is absent for illness or emergency for a short period of time. With the vote of the board to terminate the superintendent's comment for cause, we don't have a superintendent, so we need to appoint an interim superintendent. The discussion that is noticed in the agenda item 2.02 is required by the open meeting law to be phrased the way it is phrased. So we must state this item as it is described here. Discussion and possible action to consider the character, alleged misconduct, and/or professional competence of Deputy Superintendent of Schools Krista McNeil pursuant to NRS 241.031. This portion of the meeting will remain open to the public, and administrative action to appoint Deputy Superintendent Krista McNeil as interim superintendent or acting superintendent, but she does have to be interim, per Board Policy 9082 for discussion and possible action. So I would open the item for public comment.
Natha Anderson, Norris Dupree, Melissa Bozen.
Welcome back, Ms. Anderson. You're up first. Good timing.
I was actually just trying to find a seat. Okay. Thank you. Good morning. Natha Anderson, President of the Washoe Education Association. I think we all realize that this is, again, a very difficult day for all of us, as has been mentioned before. Instead of trying to come up with something quickly, I'm going to read to you a letter that will be given to President Simon Holland. This is a letter of support by the Washoe Education Association Board of Directors to appoint Dr. Krista McNeil as the interim superintendent of the Washoe County School District, beginning today, July 1st, 2019. The WA leadership unanimously feels Dr. McNeil has the experience and the leadership the district needs to get us through this unprecedented challenges the community and WEA's over 4,000 bargaining unit members are facing with the transition to a new permanent superintendent. It is our position that we need to first get through this crisis, including all of the negative fallout that has, is, and will result from it, before we begin the needed national search process of identifying and hiring the very best candidate to be the next superintendent of Washoe County School District. We are recommending a consistent voice who knows our district, our community, our educators, our schools, and our profession as we prepare and plan for the 2019-20 school year, and then also recognize that currently there are, again, 3 schools that are currently working. We often forget about that because it's July. But those 3 schools that are on track and in process right now, those educators are able to keep their eye on the prize, which is, again, the students. And this drama needs to be as far away from our classroom as possible. Whether it is negotiations that are happening right now, hiring of new educators, preparing for professional development, implementation of important legislative changes, and just the general day-to-day business, we need to have a consistent voice. If we were to wait to appoint somebody from out of district, that would be 4 to 6 weeks at minimum. In 4 to 6 weeks, we're back in the school. We can't do that. There's no question we need to change the culture. We need to change too many items that are happening in our schools. And without an interim superintendent, if it was an acting superintendent, we would be unable to do so. We ask that you do this swiftly and in a way that is strategic, well thought out, and not a knee-jerk reaction. Thank you for your consideration.
Thank you, Ms. Anderson.
Norris Dupree, Melissa Bozen, Elise Weatherly. Melissa Bozen, Elise Weatherly, Malia Pukta.
Welcome, Ms. Bozen. I'm sorry you have to be
Sorry.
on crutches.
Ankle surgery. Good morning. To say that we are saddened to be here today is an understatement. I am Melissa Bozen, and I am the president of the Washoe Education Support Professionals, and we represent close to 2,700 bargaining members. I'm here today to please ask and remind everyone that we are having ESPs and other staff in the sites that are currently getting ready for school for this next coming year. We're hoping sure that there's no glitches or hitches, so we want to make sure that this process goes as smoothly as possible for our 64,000 reasons why that we are here. The only comment that I would like to make is that the working relationship that WESP has with the district, I really want that to continue and maintain forward. The only thing that I request is that the communication between the school district and the association improve. Nothing is more disheartening or blindsiding than to hear about something on the news that directly affects my membership. So the communication would be awesome if we could improve that. I am here to support any decision that you all make with regards to Ms. McNeil. We look forward to working with her and continuing the relationship with the district. Thank you for your time.
Thank you, Ms. Bozen.
Elise Weatherly, Malia Pukta.
Welcome, Ms. Weatherly.
Elise Weatherly, Washoe County resident. I just want to say thank you, you guys. I know how hard of a job this is. Have you guys ever heard of that thing of love at first sight? I have to say, and this is a personal opinion only, the first time that I saw Kristen, I liked her immediately, and I don't know why. I don't know if you can even judge things based on that or not, but to me she was like the perfected beauty of Lily Tomlin. And I don't know if you can go with your gut instinct about whether somebody is going to fulfill their duties or not, but I immediately trusted her. Thanks, you guys.
Thank you, Ms. Weatherly.
Malia Pukta.
Ms. Pukta, welcome back.
I've had a few interactions with Dr. McNeil, all of them very casual. She seems to always recognize me, whether she does or not. I don't know, but she always makes me feel like she remembers seeing me at other meetings and such. I only know her from those interactions, but I have had more interactions with her than I have ever had with Tracy Davis. Can't compare to any other superintendent because I've only been here during the tenure of Miss Davis. It seems to me like she would be good in the position of interim superintendent. She seems to care about the community. It seems from what I can find about her that she's been a member of our community for quite some time. I would hope, though, and I know this is a bit premature, that the board considers this time when we're looking for an actual superintendent to serve for the long term, instead of just in an interim kind of position, that you broaden the search. I feel that Dr. McNeil would be a good fit for us. I know that there were other accusations that the previous superintendent didn't live in the community and all of those things, which are neither here nor there. But I think that we need to have a broader search when it comes time to fill the shoes permanently. But I do, again, feel that Dr. McNeil would be a good fit for the interim. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Pukta.
That's all I have for this item.
Okay. Mr. Ippolito, welcome.
Hi, my name is John Ippolito. I have 2 kids left in the district. I don't know the inner workings or what happens behind the scenes, but I know that Kristen McNeil has been helpful. I had a situation, I had to come talk to somebody, and she was the one who would talk to me, and she helped. My wife gets mad if I say, so I can't say, but she helped me, my family. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Ippolito. Is there anyone else who would like to comment on item 2.02? Okay, if not, we will. Oh, does someone else wish to comment? Okay.
Oh,
This
I'm
is
sorry, I
the-
put the wrong number on. I'm
This,
sorry.
yeah, 2.02 is the item we're on. Is that?
Yes, I'm sorry, I misread the card, put the wrong number. Lonnie Feemster again, President of Reno Sparks NAACP, former education chair. And I just wanted to make a comment regarding the situation we've dealt with here in the many meetings I've come to at the school district when they were evaluating superintendents. My wife has put her name in several times for the position. But I caution the school district regarding appointing someone to act as superintendent. Considering what I've seen in the last 2 weeks, I do not consider the circumstances that have surrounded today as running smoothly. I was very clear on the perception that we needed to get a superintendent in our school district that would stay at least 5 years. Now, having gone and sitting through some classes at superintendent school with my wife in Richmond, Virginia, and reading a lot more about superintendents, doing some consulting work that she did to evaluate superintendent applicants at various school districts around the United States, analyzing the state education data and providing information to the company that was doing the evaluations. I know that we need to get stability, but I also know that superintendents don't always stay that long because there's a demand, and sometimes the money far exceeds what the school boards are able to offer. And so I caution you, and I recommend that you take the time to find a permanent replacement for the job and not to rush and to put someone in that position. I don't know what went wrong, but like I said, my perception and the perception of the people in this community that have called me, that I've met with, and my own experience tell me that the system is not running smoothly. And I think you need to think about this before you act. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Feemster. Is there anyone else? Yes, Ms. Feemster? Yes, Dr. Feemster, sorry.
Yes, I did. Good morning. Okay, it's still good morning. Good morning, President Holland, school board members. Thank you guys for what you've done today. I think you've done an unbelievable job. Thank you. And to continue that, I believe that we need to understand that I did read everything. And I have attended some superintendent school. I know my facts. I know my information. I read everything. You had almost another superintendent working along with a superintendent. And that's what was going on. That caused chaos for each one of you, for everyone out there. And that was the whole problem. Cooperation, collaboration, communication should have occurred earlier, way earlier. Just look at the information. Because I care about the future of Washoe County School District, I would hope that I don't continue to hear some of the negative positions or communication that has occurred that's in the information with, quite frankly, our interim superintendent, who has had some, I'm sure there was a survey that was out regarding Kristen. I hope you can pull that information and read it. I get along with Kristen just fine, but I just want you to know that there are other people who are afraid to come forward. The biggest thing is that people feel that they're being bullied by others, retaliated by others. It is so obvious that basically a sort of shadow administration was running right alongside. It was almost two different superintendents, two different leadership teams. I can name names, but I don't have to. You guys should know those names. And I hope that we can move forward as one. And if anyone wants to understand, I will be happy to let you know about your shadow administration. Very happy, because it existed with power, and that was half of your problem. So, Kristen, if you are supported today, I will definitely support you. I will definitely support her because I think she's probably the best dressed person in Washoe County School District, and I always look forward to seeing her outfits, get some ideas. But she's cordial, and I hope you can continue that cordialness with me, with other people in the community, because this will come up, especially in dealing with minorities in the community. That is the biggest problem that we have. So I hope you can do that, and good luck.
Thank you, Dr. Feemster. Anyone else? Nope. Mr. Duran, welcome.
Sorry, I was not able to attend on in terms of Tracy Davis. So I was at work at the front office. I just watched a live video about firing Mr. Davis. So as a result, you guys fired Mr. Davis. I think that's for good decisions. And then I have a very positive feedback from from Mr. McNeil. I think he should be a superintendent. He would be good fit because he helped the zoning committee more together. I think he will be better fit. If I were to, if Mr. McNeil was superintendent, I would like to keep Pine at GT program, and I like to wait. I heard Mr. Brown mention censor both on leave. I know it was with no reason. So I know, like, I should not talk about it, state laws. So followed Mr. David, and then hire McNeil as a superintendent will bring district at #1 priority. It will not be fool around, mess around, become a Washington County school district should become #1 county in Nevada. And I do know that state in Nevada was dead last in education. So we waste we have a wasted graduation rate. That's very good. So it make Nevada as best education in us, and then it make Nevada best education in state of Nevada.
Thank you, Mr. Duran. Thank you for making the time to come down. Anyone else? Okay. Then we will close the public comment on 2.02, and Dr. McNeil, would you like to say something?
Thank you. For the record, Kristen McNeil, acting superintendent. It's going to take me some time.
Take a minute.
I appreciate the opportunity to speak to you all today in regards to my qualifications, character, and ability to fulfill the role of interim superintendent for our Washoe County School District and all of our students. My track record in Washoe County School District spans over 2 decades and is one of rising through the ranks based on my work ethic and abilities. I was a teacher at Livy Booth Elementary and Smith Ridge Elementary. I have been a principal at Lois Allen and Marvin Moss Elementary Schools, home of the Marmots. I was director of state and federal programs, overseeing the largest influx of federal grants in the history of this district. I was promoted to chief strategies officer and then became the district's first chief of staff. I became deputy superintendent in 2015 and have served ethically and with integrity in that role for 4 years. As deputy superintendent, I oversee the day-to-day operations of the schools through the Office of School Leadership, the Office of Academics, the Office of Chief Ombudsman, and Special Education Compliance. Per the organizational structure of the district, I am second in command of the district under the superintendent. On a very personal note, I am a native Nevadan. My family moved to Reno in 1996, and I have been an active and contributing member of this community since that time. My administration credentials and my doctorate are both from the University of Nevada, Reno. I serve on boards of several community-based nonprofits. Both of my children have been enrolled for their kindergarten years in Washoe County School District. And one is the class of 2020, so she'd better be walking that stage. I want to be clear with all of you, our staff, our students, and community, that there is a critical and important difference from being second in command and working close with the CEO and being involved in knowing about unethical and hurtful wrongdoings in this district. What has occurred is deeply upsetting on a very personal level. As I worked closely with these individuals who, according to now public documents, had ill intentions for myself and other leadership staff and staff of this district. These types of behaviors cut to the core of who I am as a person, who my family, friends, and colleagues know of me. as a person and they unfairly cause harm to the years I have devoted towards improving this school district. I also want the board and the community to understand that as acting superintendent, I took immediate action to protect our district from further harm and to protect individuals in our district from further intimidation. I stand by those decisions today. I also took immediate action to redistribute reporting structures to make sure continuity of operations of this school district continue. I also want to put on the record that upon being named acting superintendent, I notified both our leadership team and the board that I set up reporting structures in the Office of Business and Finance through the Chief Financial Officer and the Chief Academic Officer to ensure I'm in full compliance with Board Policy 4505, Standards of Professional Conduct and Administrative Regulation 411.1, Regulation on Nepotism, and Nevada Revised Statutes. In regards to my relationship with Mike Schroeder, budget director, and my fiance, those are on the record. I want you, the board, our staff, and our community to understand that I fully comprehend with every fiber of my being how much has occurred and has affected our community. This trust is broken on many levels within our organization and outside of our organization, and it must be fixed. And that hurts us, and it hurts our teachers, it hurts our principals, it hurts our support staff, it hurts our students, and it hurts our leadership team. I want to state on the record that this district's leadership team has been unfairly targeted in this matter, except for certain individuals. And our leadership team is comprised of deeply committed people who have risen through the ranks to provide consistent and impactful leadership. They are former teachers, principals, engineers, accountants, grant evaluators, psychologists, counselors, attorneys, and police officers. And they show their dedication to this individual roles that they serve on a daily and often nightly basis for our students, our staff, and our families of this district. It is going to take time to repair this trust at very deep levels and across many organizations and agencies. And this will be our main charge and challenge going forward. This is going to have to happen starting today, tomorrow, and over the next months and years. We must be honest, this work is not going to happen overnight. It will be hard, but it must be done. This will require one-to-one conversations with our employees, our employee associations, and meetings with business and community members. It will require meetings with our students and our parents and a deep look at our procedures to ensure that we are being as transparent as possible with the community and the media while still following state and federal laws. My work ethic is important to me. I work 6 to 7 days a week, putting in 12 to 15-hour days because that's my job. Work ethic is not something to have eyes rolled at. It is important, and it speaks to the rest of these employees in our organization. One must be willing to put in the time, and I have over my career and will continue to do this for our district, Washoe County School District. I have served the role of interim superintendent before. I understand the role of an interim is critical at this time in our district. We must continue to keep our focus on our day-to-day operations and get our schools ready to open by August 12th. We have 3 new schools finishing up construction in a few short weeks. We'll begin to have principals, teachers, and support staff go in and get ready for opening day. As an interim superintendent, I can tell you my day-to-day routine will most likely look boring to many of you. This, however, will mean that this is not business as usual. It will mean it will be business as it should have always been. I will not be traveling or serving on national boards during this time. I will be out in our schools and working alongside our board and leadership team to maintain the functions of this district. I will be tasked with many important responsibilities and decisions that require someone with knowledge on several fronts, including budgetary for day-to-day operations, implementation of new legislation, personnel matters, school safety and security, and maintaining critical partnerships with community organizations and agencies. I have the breadth of knowledge and will maintain the function of this district, and it takes this responsibility with all the care and seriousness that it deserves. Recently, a former district area superintendent of our district sent me a quote from Simon Sinek. Leadership is not about change and being in charge. Leadership is about taking care of those in your charge. As the interim superintendent, I fully intend to take that responsibility to heart each and every day. I thank you for your time and will take any questions you may have.
Thank you, Dr. McNeil. Are there questions for Dr. McNeil? Trustee Cottle.
Yeah. So I know we've all heard from our teachers and community referencing concern, and what I've said to individuals that talk to me is we have a deputy for a reason. The deputy's charge is to be the number two, but also to step up in times of need, which we are in right now. It's a very transparent process. People might not totally agree with it, but they can understand it. And so I do support Dr. McNeil to be our interim superintendent. And then the real work starts to keep the district moving and then decide a way forward. And I know on a personal level from what we saw here in your emotion, this has greatly affected you. And I can see it in the documents that I read, how it impacted you, but I can't even imagine how it impacted you. In the text and all that, it's just despicable. And I support you, and I believe you will serve well in the interim superintendent position. Thank you.
Thank you, Trustee Cottle. Would anyone else like to make a comment? Dr. Taylor.
Thank you, Madam President. Dr. McNeil, yeah, I'm sure you're aware of emails and such like that we've gotten expressing concern. What will you do as you move forward and have the opportunity, because you certainly you have my support as well. I think that's the right thing to do, to address that, to kind of approach that, if you will, for those teachers that come forward, because their voice is important to us, and we want to make sure that they understand that their voice is important to us. So just give me your take on that, and what will you do to begin to address those concerns?
I think it starts this week, Dr. Taylor. I think it starts meeting with the association's leadership. I think it starts with meeting teachers, staff members, individually, together in groups. But it has to start with a conversation. It has to start with openness and transparency and dignity and respect. As a classroom teacher, I understand, but I haven't been in the classroom in a while. But I've been in our schools, and people know that I've been in those schools. But that's what it needs to start with. And just like I said, it needs to start today and continue tomorrow and continue for the next several months and years. But we must do this. We must start to talk.
Thank you. Trustee Kelly.
Thank you, Madam President. I support Dr. McNeil as the interim. And just a point of clarification, you had mentioned it's board policy that that Washoe County School District has an interim superintendent. And I just want to let people know that the reason that board policy is in place is because the school district can't operate without a superintendent or an interim superintendent for compliance reasons with board policy, school district admin, and then even some state and local or some state and federal laws. So the reason we have that board policy in place to have an interim is so that we can meet all those requirements that are there for statute and law.
Thank you, Trustee Kelly. Trustee Minetto.
As a teacher and having been a teacher, I understand where the teachers were coming from, because I've often thought that kind of thing myself. But having come to know Dr. McNeil these last months, and the integrity I see, and the perseverance I see, and the horribleness of how she was treated, I just think that I think you would be marvelous for us.
Thanks, Trustee Minetto. Anyone else? Well, I too support your being appointed interim superintendent, Dr. McNeil, and I've known you a long time, longer than being on the school board. I've been an admirer of Dr. McNeil's work in the community. She's worked on the Healthy Communities Project. She's been involved in nonprofits. She's always been a tireless advocate for the district and for the people of the district, the students and the staff of the district, trying to be a positive voice, an encouraging voice. She has a tremendously difficult job ahead of her right now. We all want to heal. We all want to move forward constructively and collaboratively, as many folks have said. So this has to be a new day, and I think you know that. I think you feel it in your heart too. We can begin the healing process, and we can begin to improve that communication and that transparency and rebuild trust that has been broken. And you will have a lot on your shoulders, but I think I know my colleagues on the board want you to be successful, and we will support you and help you be successful in any way that is necessary. So, Trustee Caudill.
I'm ready to make a motion if there's
Go
no other
ahead.
discussion. I move the Washoe County School District Board of Trustees appoint Dr. Kristen McNeil as interim superintendent of schools.
Is there a second? Second by Trustee Minetto. And to clarify again, the interim superintendent serves on a temporary basis until a permanent superintendent is selected. So it is a temporary appointment, and as we have mentioned in public statements, we will begin the process of looking at how we want to move forward to hire a permanent superintendent at our very next meeting on July 23rd. Okay, any further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor, please signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries unanimously. Congratulations, Dr. McNeil, and thank you. And we look forward to working with you and helping to serve, because we have a lot to do. We also have an additional public comment period. Do we have Mr. Duran? Did you wish to speak? And
hang on, I have others.
Okay, okay. She has others first. Just a moment.
Shannon Cologne, Elise Weatherly, Malia Pukta.
Ms. Cologne, welcome.
Hi. Do I have to push a button? Nope. Okay. So, good morning, Trustee Holland, Dr. Taylor, and the rest. I am a school psychologist. I've worked with one of you personally, and have been in various meetings with others. I can't speak as to the current situation that happened with Ms. Davis in regards to the allegations. I'm not a lawyer. I'm a psychologist. What I can say is that I'm a proud member of this school district, and I want to continue working here. I've had 2 highly effective evaluations. However, with all of the success I've had in the school district, there has also been challenges. I was in California for vacation, and I came back for this meeting because while it hadn't made national news yet, I knew a lot of the allegations that were going to be thrown could get us to that point. I want to continue working for this district. I'm proud to work for this district. However, what the news articles and all these accusations and discovery has shown me, as well as my own personal experience, is that we need a change in procedures and process for our district and how all decisions are made, both in the special education department as well as every other corner of our system. A lot of employees, a lot of parents and staff I've talked to feel dissatisfaction. A lot of that has been echoed here. I'm not going to repeat that. But the bottom line is there are systemic issues in our district that need to be addressed to improve the lives of not just our students and our families, but all of the educators who work in our district, so that we don't have those polls and those surveys where people feel like they have to say unanimously or anonymously how dissatisfied they are. I think we need to work together to move forward in this process, but there are systemic changes that need to take place at all levels in the decision-making process to ensure that most of us, if not all of us, feel proud that we work here. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Cologne.
Elise Weatherly, Malia Pukta, Pablo Nava Duran.
Ms. Weatherly?
Elise Weatherly, Washoe County resident. I want to say that any situation that comes our ways, it's worth some evaluation and investigation, right? I'm going to say that this whole thing, as hard as it was on everybody, was an answer to prayer. I have to tell you that based on the way things are going in the school district, I was going to say goodbye to my Tesla solar panels and move somewhere else because me and a lot of the other residents had lost some hope, all right? We thought that things would not change, would not get better. And Dr. Taylor and I both know that when we make a plea to the court system, it's not begging necessarily, it's making a court case that we have some things that need to be addressed. That was brought up before. There's this whole thing about false accusations, false allegations. Well, I had my guy was expelled from a school in name only, Christian school, Excel Christian school. He was issued a false allegation, a false accusation, and he was not heard, and he was rejected by them. We have some situations where Tomas Macaluso, Melissa Olson, Dr. Parks, there are some situations going on with Truckee Meadows Community College High School where they have rejected some students based on some criteria that is not valid, false accusations. I would like to see these things addressed and I would like to be heard, and I'm hoping that maybe somebody will finally start listening to what we have to say. I will say that I've had experience. I know which schools are good. Pine Middle School has a great reputation. Sparks Middle School has a great reputation. Ace High School's teachers are wonderful. Not so much about the admin, but they're wonderful. Excel Christian School, I would not recommend that to anybody. No kid. All right. I dealt with Jan Evans. I went up there with Marvin Neal. I stood on Marvin Neal's side. We tried to get those kids to listen. Some kids will listen and some kids won't. But I will say that please take a look at that 1% that you guys were accused of only looking at the 1% student. I actually ran into some neighbors. I think they were Latino. I don't know. They were talking about the fact that their very brilliant kids were being pushed under the rug because so much time and energy is being spent on the kids that will attack the teachers. What I'm asking this district to do is start taking a look at their brilliant students, because those are the ones that are going to make a difference in this world. We do have some students that need to be spanked, shall we say, and it's okay to do that. I would beg of you guys, I'm making a plea, please don't ignore the brilliant students. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Weatherly.
Malia Pukta, Pablo Nava Duran, Bobby Claire.
Ms. Pukta?
Hello again. I got lots to say today. So I just, with everything that's kind of come to light in the past couple of weeks with all these allegations of wrongdoing and such, I wonder if it's prudent for the board to look at their policies regarding nepotism, hiring of spouses, even if it's not for favorable consideration, even if the spouse or significant other or brother, sister, whatever family member is the best choice, the most qualified choice. I wonder if it wouldn't be prudent to weigh the relationship and how that person is going to interact with upper management, their direct supervisor, so that we don't have these kinds of things come up again. I also wonder, so this one's kind of hard for me. I know that as a superintendent or as a member of upper management, you need to have your support staff. And a lot of times that support includes access to emails, telephone calls, telephone logs, voicemails, text messages, all those other things. But I wonder if it would be prudent for the board to pass some sort of policy that stops that kind of access. It seems to me that's what got us here, was the unrestricted access and the nepotism. And it's just something that I hope you consider. And also moving forward and finding a permanent superintendent, again, I hope that you open that pool of candidates to a nationwide search and not just put in Dr. McNeil is as fabulous as I think she is and as qualified as I think she is, and as much as she may be the best fit for us, I wonder if you would be doing a disservice by not opening up the candidate pool, by not conducting a nationwide search to fill that. Because I know, I for one wish you would have done that before, and I don't know that, I know some of you are new. I don't know if all of you were involved in the hiring of the previous superintendent, but I know that that's something that wasn't done. So, thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Bukta.
Pablo Nava Duran.
Welcome
Bobby
back, Mr.
Clark.
Duran.
John Eppolito.
I'd like to say that it's a very sad day, but it's a new day for the district. So I heard the goal by 90% of Washoe County School District graduate by 2020. So I know like we're 84%. I don't know about the new data. I don't know about what the new goal, like should we like reject it or make a new one or to keep it 2020. And I heard the Sun Valley, you know, the Spanish Marine, they moved to Wild Creek. So that Tracy David goal, or if Tracy David goal, and if since he gone, I guess we're not like not heavy rezone Sun Valley from Spanish Marine to Wild Creek. Any construction, it's up to the zoning community. It can like maybe reject Sun Valley, leave at Spanish Springs. And I'm looking forward to see Mika McNeil as the superintendent. I know like August next month, start a new year, renew school. Hopefully get the bright future right from a start. And like hopefully like never I like to say that the Nevada public education is falling behind. So I guess if you move Nevada education up like top 10 or top 15%, that will be great. That will have a great future for students, staff, make it Washoe County the best county in the country or in the state. And I admire you as a Carson Holland president, Washoe County School District president. I'm not sure that I know like you about to rezone to Wallen, but I heard Wallen was a school of the year. You know Mullen? You know the Northwest Reno?
Oh, Melton.
Yeah. So I heard there go rezone for Westergaard to Melton. So I like to say that Melton is the school of the year. So I'm not sure you decide or not. So I hopefully have a great summer. Go home, don't cry, have fun. Bye.
Thank you, Mr. Duran.
Bobby Clark. John Eppolito.
Ms. Clark, welcome.
Hello, I came, I had no intention of speaking, but I thought I should share something I saw when I was teaching, and I still am. When I was at Van Gorder Elementary as a teacher, I saw Dr. McNeil. She took time out of her 15 and 16-hour days to come and volunteer at our school, and it's what people do when nobody is looking that shows you the quality of their character. I was in the hallway. She didn't know I was watching. And down the hall, there was a little girl. She was 6 years old, and she had just accidentally wet her pants, which happens all the time in first grade. It just does. It's just part of our world. And Dr. McNeil kneeled down in her Jimmy Choos, and she dried all of that little girl's tears and took that little wet girl and pulled her into her arms and hugged her until and told her she was okay until she stopped crying. And then she went to the nurse. And I have never forgotten that when nobody was looking, she did the right thing. I've seen a lot of adults who haven't. And I'm so proud that we have those kinds of leaders in our school. And I know you've had a horrible 2 weeks, and I am so sorry. I have too. I've been at home crying too. It's going to get better. Because for every bad thing that happens, that gets the press. But the 90% of us who show up every day and do our gosh darn best no matter what, and hug those squishy, soggy 6-year-olds, we're still going to come to school in a month, and we're still going to do our best. Hang in there. I'm so sorry. It's been such a rough ride. That's all.
Thank you, Ms. Clark, and thank you for serving as a teacher. Mr. Ippolito.
Hi, my name is John Ippolito. I'm the president of Protect Nevada Children. I'd like to thank this board, not necessarily for how you voted, but for being here, for everything you do, for basically volunteering your time. I know the pay is not big, like was said earlier, and for listening. You listened to everyone. There were a lot of good things said today. Today, more than most days, I'm glad to be on this side of the podium instead of your side of the podium. Kristen and the board, Protect Nevada Children will continue to ask you to educate parents on the dangers of their children sharing personal data and schoolwork with free ed tech vendors. And I think you expect it by now. Things like the FBI public service announcement, things like Edmodo's data breach, and things like Edmodo's sale of our children's secret profiles to the Chinese. Those are things you should be telling parents. I still don't know why you won't. Well, actually, I think I do know why you won't. I think we do know why you were the only one in the state to oppose our bill, SB 403, that would have protected children. And I think that reason is because the district wants to get one-to-one devices into the hands of kids as young as kindergarten. At Nick Polikitis, one of our people said that earlier. And the research shows, and I think you also know this because we've given you the reports, the research shows devices in the hands of young children, especially kindergarten, first grade, second grade, they're not going to help with education. They're going to detract from education. And one of our colleagues also said earlier about the most recent report from Reboot shows that kids who use the devices in most or all of their classes are a year behind reading by fourth grade. And again, I don't know why you guys want to push these. Also the social media and screen time, we all know that's bad. You guys know that's bad, but you're giving kids screens anyway. And some of us are still keeping our kids off screens. Bill Gates, Steve Jobs, and many current .com executives severely limited their children's use of screens and did not allow their children to share data with third-party vendors, especially the free ones. I'm not sure if this board knows something that Steve Jobs and Bill Gates didn't know, but I don't think so. And you can find us on Facebook at Protect Nevada Children. Thank you.
Thanks, Mr. Ippolito, and congratulations to your daughter for being a valedictorian at Incline High School.
Oh, thank you. We forced her. No screen.
That's all I have.
Okay, thank you, JJ. That does close our public comment, and that does close our business for today. Thank you all for being here. It's been a difficult morning. I thank my colleagues on the board for the difficult process that we've been through today, and we will be adjourned. Thank you.